Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 447. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, what's up? Who's this guy?
Yes, a ginger somehow has returned.
Just keep coming back.
Yeah, just like the main character of Uwe Boll's Postal, a ginger is here. So welcome to the show, everyone. It's a DC Comics podcast. We get together, we talk about the DC books we read this week. Coming up on today's show, we have Detective Comics 1094, Superman 23, Absolute Wonder Woman issue 5, Green Lantern 20, Justice League Unlimited issue 4, Black Canary Best of the Best issue 4, Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween issue 5, Metamorpho The Element Man issue 3, Green Lantern Dark issue 3, and then I've got a Patreon book. I'll be talking about Planetary issue 6. So, nice healthy dose of books this week. So thankfully, solicits were last week, and we don't have to talk about those.
That is nice, isn't it?
So that's good. There's like a tiny bit of news, but not much. So yes, welcome all to the show. Matt.
Yep.
How's your week?
Oh, I'm so glad this week's over. Well, my work week's over anyways. It was not good. So, but we're through it. It's all right. I did see the monkey. The monkey's very funny. So
it's pretty funny. It's
yeah.
Is it supposed to be funny?
Yeah,
yes.
It's intentional funny, yeah.
The people sitting down the road from me at the theater did not know that. So when I'm laughing maniacally at certain death sequences, I kept getting stares from the old couple.
Taking it dead seriously. There's people dying. We can't laugh at this.
I'll just say that the pool one, that one got me good. Yeah. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie. I don't think everything kind of like comes together at the end, but it is funny and it's got good. Yeah,
death
it's kind of like a perfect B movie I would have found on TV growing up. Yeah, like what is this? But yeah, no, I had a great time with it.
Connor, how was your week?
Not bad. I had a week off work. I've been doing some film catch up, watching stuff for the Oscars this weekend.
This makes sense. I'm like, what is he doing? There's so many movie posts.
Yeah. Week off. It's end of the tax year, so at the end of March. So you have to use up all your holiday, or you lose it. So I had a week. So why not now?
Yeah, and he spent that watching a movie about Robbie Williams as a monkey.
Yeah, it was not that great, but it's not even close to the worst movie I've watched this week. It's not even like the second worst movie I've watched this week.
What was the worst movie you watched this week?
Oh, Amelia Perez. Of
course that everyone says it's shit.
Oh no, it's so much worse than I thought it was going to be, even with that. And then Wicked was worse than it as well.
Oh, okay,
yeah. So like,
I've been bamboozled into watching Wicked when it drops on digital.
No,
I've made promises.
You're gonna have such a miserable time, Matt.
I know.
I want you to know, Matt. Like, divorce is always an option, right? It's always right there. Okay.
Look, she got her second Taylor Swift tattoo last night. It's full cult status. So I don't know if divorce is an option.
Wait, is Taylor Swift getting to do with Wicked?
No.
Okay.
No. But like divorcing a Swiftie is not an easy task. So they don't let things go
because they're mental. Is that your point?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay.
So yeah, no. I forget exactly what trade I made that I would watch Wicked when it comes out on.
I mean, it sounds like you
else.
just helped her pay for a Taylor Swift tattoo. I feel like you've done your good deed as a husband for a bit.
No, it's fine. That one's not even. Now I didn't want to see Wicked to begin with. And again, the worst part is I feel like I've been bamboozled. There might be some witchcraft involved.
Yeah, whatever the trade was, it wasn't worth it.
No, she sent me the text where I said sure. So again, there might be some AI. I don't know. But
speaking of AI, it's getting in the way of Matt's camera right now. He's looking all 1997.
Yeah. Ah, sweet. My knees are great now.
Oh dear. Yeah, I had a busy week with Tim. Tim was free to record for like 2 weeks, so we've been recording a ton of Screams After Midnight episodes, including one for the Monkey, which is already out. If people would like to go check that out. But Yeah, so I've been doing movie catch up technically via that, but it's all been horror movies because it's a horror movie show. So
Yeah, but that's fine. You like horror movies. You probably had a better time than I did with some of mine.
I probably did. I watched some good ones. I did. There was one or two that were not good, but there was a few really solid ones.
I should point out, I did watch some good stuff as well. It wasn't all atrocious stuff.
Yeah.
But, just for the record, just so no one thinks I just had a week of actual slop.
What was your take on The Substance?
It's very, very, very good.
Okay.
Even knowing everything, I still struggled at points, but that's more of a me bringing things to the table than what I actually did.
You see, Matt, he's not even listening to me. But
He's
for the
not, no.
audience, needles. Connor doesn't like needles, and there's lots of needles in The Substance.
There is, but I knew that going in, so I was like prepared, and I appreciate that it was always like, even though it was extended sequences, it was always telegraphed when they were going to be there. Like I never had there was never a surprise needle. Like sometimes you get that in random anything, like movies, TV shows. They're just out of nowhere. In this, they were always contextual. I could always tell from what was happening that there's about to be one, so it was fine. There was just a lot, so there was a lot of eyes closed at large sections of the movie. But I enjoyed all the rest of it.
Is the needle thing worse depending on where you know it's going?
No.
No, doesn't matter.
No.
Okay.
Like, obviously, I don't. I'd say like, if I had to say, the ones in the eyes are slightly worse, but that's very rare. Thinking, which Halloween movie has that?
Well, that's like a very common thing. No one likes the thought of a needle in an eye. So
Yeah, exactly. So, so there's a double factor there that's like slightly worse. But other than that, no.
I was just wondering because there's like a sort of constant like return to the spine and The Substance, and I was wondering if that was more of an issue.
No, it doesn't make any difference. And again, because I knew, like, it's very clear when they're about to use it, right, in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it was easy to avoid. It was easy to close my eyes and know, okay, this is happening now.
So you watch The Substance like some people watch Terrifier.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah, basically.
Never do that with Terrifier. The gore's what you're there for. It's the money shots.
Okay. We were in very different theaters than my friend.
That's what you're there for. You're there for the gore, the almost pornographic gore.
Yes, I know. I said some people, not me.
All that said, The Substance is still one of the better movies I've seen this week. So
yes, yeah,
it's very good.
Out of everything, I'm sure you're charging through because it's the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
As we record tomorrow.
Yeah,
I need to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, none of this is related to the Academy Awards movies, but for everyone who said Smile 2 was actually good and better than the first one, you're all a bunch of assholes. It sucks.
No.
Maybe they're just saying that to make you watch it and just so you'll be miserable.
Is it technically better than the first one? I will concede that slightly, but it's still shite. It's still, like...
I didn't expect you to like it, number one, because you didn't like the first one.
I hate the... people like the first one, yeah. Like,
Really?
It got a lot of buzz in the horror community. I don't know why, because it's trash. The premise is garbage. Like when they get the curse, fine, and potentially the very end of the curse is fine, but everything that happens in between the start and the end is just tedious, generic, supernatural movie bullshit. It's just a bunch of cliches over and over again, and nothing matters. Nothing matters.
So I understand why you say that, but as using that curse to represent trauma and how people process it and what it does to shape reality, I think it does a very good job.
Nothing matters in the movie because, like, literally everything. Oh well, it's just over and over again. The main character looks crazy because they see something that no one else sees. Oh, and then it turns out that this last 10 minutes didn't happen. It was all in her head. Or then it turns out this last entire act was all in her head. Like, it just constantly keeps doing that. Nothing matters in that movie. I hated it.
I won't watch it then.
Yeah. Connor, for what it's worth, I enjoyed it. I thought Naomi Scott was fantastic.
Yeah, but he thinks Kong Skull Island's like a 9 out of 10. So don't listen to him.
No, I don't. It's a 10 out of 10. Thank you.
You're not helping your case here, man.
Yes. Come on. Here I thought we would gang up on Connor, now I'm getting ganged up on.
Well, you decide to try and defend Smile too, so you're getting it.
I'm just saying, I understand why people like it, and it is better than the first one. So, but again, you didn't like the first one, so I would expect you to like the second one.
Yeah, no. Rough stuff. I think the Screams review of that's coming out next week. But needless to say, I was not impressed. That said, though, there was more scenes set in a Pizza Hut than any movie in the last 20 years, so that's something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Made me miss the Pizza Hut. So you guys had the buffet, right? Years and years ago? Or no?
Probably, I don't know. I went to Pizza Hut a few times as a teenager. I never got a buffet, but I think it was
We did have
an
an
option.
option.
Yeah.
Okay. I just remember the smell of it because you kind of have the salad bar and then just the certain smell of the pan pizza. Most of the walk-in takeaway Pizza Huts don't have that same smell as a culmination. But yeah, I very vividly remember the Pizza Hut buffet smell.
That's fun. It's pretty low on my ranking of buffet places like that. It had a very mediocre salad bar. There were lots of places that you get a better salad bar.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that's a tipping point when that's the comparable factor between a lot of them.
I mean, you look at me and my life decisions. You think I was eating much salad when I was a kid?
No, ball full of croutons, maybe.
No. Breadsticks, absolutely.
It's basically the same.
Yeah, but one of them's not. Breadsticks are fresh. Croutons are stale.
Crunchy. That's the word you're looking for.
So, anyway. Man, I miss the Pizza Hut buffet.
Yeah. Pizza Hut was only ever okay for me. It's fine. It's kind of middle of the road pizza, to be honest.
It was second choice of the big pizza chains over here for me. But I mean, it was solid enough.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about comic book stuff. We got a lot of books. But we'll start off with Connor's favourite segment, the Kindle Rankings, otherwise known as the ComiXology Top 10.
Well, my favourite segment. Matt come around on it.
No, I just don't fight it anymore.
Nah, Matt loves it. Matt sends me text messages on a Saturday morning saying, "Oh, I can't wait for the top 10 today."
Sounds like I'm the last man standing. I'll hold out till the end.
I would not waste data minutes texting Pete that.
What do you mean? Matt, are you still paying per data? You're not gonna have unlimited?
Yeah, no, that's how the government gets you. Come on now. Wild card.
You are a boomer. You are such a boomer right now with this.
To be fair, though, their plans are a bit different to ours. They still have restrictions on broadband in the house, usage wise.
Caps, yeah. I mean
caps, yeah. That's alien now.
Okay, sure, but he's at home using his Wi-Fi when he's texting me on a message app. It's not like he's using even his data at that point.
Yeah. See, my data does have my mobile data does have a cap, but it's high enough that I never get anywhere near it.
Well, mine does too, but only because I don't need the unlimited. But if I
meander based off of a lie.
If I needed the unlimited data, I could get it easily. I could just upgrade to it. I just don't need it, so I don't bother paying for it.
So I think mine's 25 gig a month, which is loads for mobile data.
Yeah. If I found myself outside watching YouTube in the wild a lot, I'd have the unlimited, so I could do that.
I do, but it's still I rarely go over 10 or 15 gig, even watching YouTube on multiple times a week.
Sure. Aye. All right, old man Matt. What do you think number one was this one?
I'm going first, huh? Let's see. We got an absolute book. There's a couple ultimates. There's an X book. This one's going to be tougher. I'm going to go with my heart and hope that it's Absolute Wonder Woman 5.
That is correct. That is number one on the rankings. Number 2 is Ultimate Spider-Man. Number 3 is Justice League Unlimited.
What?
Connor's got hot takes. He's got opinions.
I'm just I do, but that's irrelevant. I'm just shocked that that's outselling Ultimate X-Men.
Look, Waid's name still gets books sold.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's that simple. 4 is X-Men. 5 is Detective Comics. 6 is Superman. 7 is Green Lantern. 8 is Last Halloween. So very DC heavy. 9 is Fantastic Four, and 10 is Black Canary, Best of the Best. So yeah, a lot of DC in that top 10.
Did we not have Ultimate X-Men in that top 10 at all?
No, Ultimate X-Men's down at number 13.
Wow, that's really surprising.
There's misses.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. But cool. Jason Aaron's doing Turtles. Has that been a thing?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just noticed the book there and I saw his name. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, that was a lot of DC books in there. I mean, admittedly, it's a bit of a gap before the ones that didn't make it. Like Flash is down at 19, Green Arrow's at 20. But like, still, I mean, we had what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 DC books in the top 10. That ain't too shabby by any stretch. So yeah, fun top 10 this week.
Also, there's a couple of solid Image books out this week as well. New Department of Truth and Monstrous. Those tend to be, very popular in their own right.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll do it for that. There is a couple of little news things. One of which is comic book related, the other which is all just sort of movie and TV DC related. So just the comic book thing first. This is not like a huge thing, but it could make a difference depending on if you've been interested in this but haven't done it because of the one sort of caveat to it. Is that DC Universe Infinite can now be had monthly. You don't have to pay for it yearly anymore. So
it's just the Ultra tier. Like before, you could always pay for the regular tier monthly, which gives you
that's what I meant. That's why
I'm making it clear for everyone. Like,
that's why I'm saying it's the Ultra tier, because the regular tier was always a monthly thing. But when they introduced the Ultimate tier, where you get the books 30 days after they've come out, that was always a yearly thing only until now.
Is the other tier 3 months or 6 months? I can't remember.
Oh, geez, you're asking.
I think Marvel Unlimited's 3 months.
That's why I'm doubting it, because I remember the news story of, but I think it was Marvel that went to 3 months, and I think DC still.
Marvel used to be 6. Yeah.
So I think DC's regular tier might still be 6 months, but it's only 1 month if you're on the Ultimate tier, which, for the record, if you're paying monthly now, is $12.99 US dollars. So, I mean,
the cost of 2.5 books at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you don't mind waiting the month, that is less than what most people who buy comic books spend in a week on books.
It's what I like. So I pay the yearly one. I think it's £99 a year, which sounds like a lot in one bulk. But
in dollars, the yearly is $120. So you can work out how much of a savings that is versus paying monthly.
Yeah,
a couple of months, I think.
It's 2, because that would be 2 months. Well, no, because it's 13, not 12.
It's close, though.
So yeah, it's close.
Yeah, so it's just nice that the option's there now if you want to do that tier, but don't want to pay one big lump sum every year.
Honestly, kind of thought it was weird that they never had it until now.
I mean, I think the idea was just that they wanted anyone who wanted that tier, they wanted to lock them into a full year of paying. Yeah,
but I guarantee you, there's quite a lot of people who don't have that money to chuck away in one go. Whereas, monthly, a lot of people can factor that in. So I'm just surprised that there'll be a lot of people who just never got it because they didn't want to pay that much in one go.
Yeah, which is why I suspect they've made this change finally. I don't know if maybe it was just like a. Maybe, do you think that was maybe like one of those we'll try and not piss off the comic shops too much because it has to be like a yearly subscription. Yeah.
It could have been. It's that, or if I'm being extra cynical, new subscriptions to that tier were dwindling, and they thought, this will give it a shot in the arm. Maybe a little bit of both. Yeah.
It is very good value though, as long as you don't mind being a month behind in books. But that's not a long time to wait, and anyway. So
it's still honestly, I still think it's amazing that it's only a month. That is quite astonishing, really.
Yeah, because 6 months felt fair, because that's kind of like when the arc is done and the trade might come out soon. That's about 6 months. Obviously, it's a little bit different because it's rolling constantly, but it made sense in my head.
And then 3 months felt like, that's quite close. But then 1 month, you're basically only on most books, you're only ever at one issue behind, which is nothing.
Yeah, unless it's double shipping or something. But
that's why I said most books. Yeah. You get the odd book, or when they did Superman or Action Weekly, recently. Yeah.
So it's very good value, and obviously Marvel have their own kind of. I don't think they have a 1 month version, but the fact that you can basically read all of Marvel and DC's libraries, for I think Marvel's $10 or so a month, and then this
it's probably less than $25 a month.
That's all of them. That's what I spend on physical a week most times.
Yeah.
So
You're paying a premium for physical pages. Like that's where we're at now, pretty much.
Yeah, and here it's the lack of ownership. But I suspect to a lot of people that doesn't matter, because I think a lot of people, even some of us who collect a lot of comics, we have probably quite a lot of physical comics. I know Pete doesn't have as much anymore, but like, Matt, how often do you go back and reread your single issues?
I don't. So this is why I've had to have the discussion where I haven't been to the shop in 3 weeks just because it's been a pain to get there. They've been doing construction
Matt,
down by there. So
this is your bargaining chip. You tell the wife, I'll stop buying physical single issues if I don't have to watch Wicked. That's how you get out of it.
But I still like going to the shop and seeing people from time to time. So, and there's certain books, there's certain creators that I still want to pick up, right? Like, so I'll never be fully done, but I've had to have the discussion with myself mainly of like, hey, maybe it's time to cut the old pull list down to like 4 books, right? Versus the 12 that it is right now.
That's switched to digital, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just, I'm reading them digital anyway, so it's like a double dip thing as it goes, because for the show, so I'm not behind or anything, but I like having certain books. And I'm running out of room though. Like I have like at least 2 short boxes full that I still need to file.
I think,
right?
I feel like obviously if you want the single issues, that's one thing, but I feel like the smarter thing to do is just stick to digital for the singles, and then the runs and the arcs that you like and you care about, you can buy the nice hardcovers or whatever later for the show.
Yeah, I think that's what Tim's been doing, because when I look up what he's what he posts is his going to the shop. I think that's what he's doing. He's getting certain singles, and then he's getting a lot of trades, which I think is a smart move. But he's also not doing a weekly show, which makes it easier to do that.
Yep, not for sure. And honestly, part of me wonders like how long until there's the super ultra diamond deluxe tier where it's day and date, but you pay $30 a month.
Honestly, I'd still pay for it.
So would that.
Me too.
I would switch in a heartbeat. Like I'd save so much money only paying like $30 a month to get all my DC.
I'd happily pay for the the 30 days now, and I think it's amazing value. I also pay for Marvel Unlimited. I think that's also great value. And even if I don't use them, I just like, it's just there. I don't have to think about it when I want to read a comic. Oh, do I need to get this issue catch back? I just hop on and just it remembers my place, and I read the next issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the thing with my shop too, is I would feel bad for my shop, but they're buoyed by a lot of board game and Magic the Gathering sales too. So like, there's still a healthy piece of comic book business that goes on through there.
Just do what I do. Just every so often, just go into the shop and buy a couple of trades. That still helps.
Do you know what's so funny is the one version I used to have. Now, admittedly, back when I had this whole 30 days version didn't exist, right? But the one version I had to Marvel Unlimited, and I don't even think DC Infinite existed at the time, was the reader wasn't as good as ComiXology, but that reason's gone. Because Kindle is shite.
I would say they're still not as good as ComiXology was, but they are better than the Kindle one. So
yeah, it's like the actual the one reason where I'm like, no, it's actually nicer to read it through the ComiXology app is gone. That reasoning has been obliterated from the atmosphere.
I miss ComiXology.
I miss it too.
I miss it so much. Plus, it was such a nice color. That greenish teal, kind of excited to click on it.
Oh, you're getting like the height of nostalgia here with Matt. He's like, oh, the color of the logo.
I honestly think though that these services thrive because ComiXology died. But I know Marvel existed before, and DC might have done towards the tail end. I'm not sure. I can't remember where the crossover.
I'd have to check what the timeline was like. But yeah, it was close if it wasn't.
I think there's a lot of people who, when ComiXology died and Amazon had all its issues, it still has issues, but it had more issues right first, gave up. And I can speak anecdotally, I know people who were reading multiple series digitally and just stopped entirely because of Amazon, like the shift. So now I suspect that there are people who are like, well, I might as well just pay the monthly fee and get them there.
Yeah, it's just, I almost wish there was a third one that just got like all of the other publishers to make it easy, rather than, because I know Dark Horse have kind of their own thing.
Yeah.
I know some of them are on Kindle Unlimited, but not everything is. Like you can't get everything you want on there. So it would be nice for the sake of like image books and series that I want to read or whatever, but yeah. Those are the one things that feel like, oh no, I still have to like buy them traditionally if I want them.
Yeah, but I don't feel as bad about that because at least typically with those books anyway, the creators are getting a higher share anyway.
Sure.
So I feel like the sales individually probably matter more to those books than a lot of the big two books. So obviously sales do matter, and you know, it does affect a series' longevity, you know, ultimately. But I think the amount of sales matters way more to a smaller Image book than it does to a smaller DC book.
Yeah. It's kind of funny when you think about it, how like music has went in the way of all these streaming apps, and there's actually multiple, but they're basically all the same thing, just in, you know, different, you know, banners. It's funny to me that this is about the same price as like a Spotify or an Amazon Music or whatever. But what I think is interesting about comics is that it's almost like they're split, like, because like music's all basically the same 3 or 4 like distributors,
record labels.
Yeah, record labels. I love the idea that comics are kind of like that, but they've all just got their own one. So DC are making a bit more money than like the music artists are making. Like, I
think if like Warner or Universal felt they could get away with it, they would have done.
Yeah, but it's too late now. I think they can. Yeah, they can shift now.
I think it's a little bit different because ultimately it came down to YouTube. I honestly think that made it put all the record labels on like a level field to begin with in terms of online access. Everyone could watch the music videos or the songs of like basically all of them the same, so they had nothing to lose.
And in reality, you consume music differently than you consume books or literature or whatever.
Oh, for sure,
right?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you had to switch through the different labels, I maybe stop listening to music.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But
you know,
I think comic books though are closer to music and consumption than they are to movies and TV. Like when I think of like streaming subscriptions, because you read, you know, potentially dozens of comics a month, right? And like even just the logistics of buying all the ones you want makes it just more convenient to have an app that has them all ready to go. And then of course there's a big difference between then movies and TV and video games, where there's kind of a really tough ceiling there, because most people only play 1 or 2 games and like don't go around
1 or 2
sampling.
games a year for most people, let alone
So I think comics, and then music's even more so, but I think comics is much closer in the sense that it's lots of little smaller bite-sized things, so you're going through a lot of them, and it makes the idea of having them all together in an app much, much more appealing and convenient, regardless of ownership.
I think it's interesting because when it comes to manga, which obviously is functionally just comics, that is still split by publisher on these apps. Like Shonen Jump is Viz Media's publishing app, and it is just their stuff. Like, admittedly, they have a lot of stuff, so they can kind of get away with it. It is like you know, it's like DC and
it's like the comics,
Marvel, but then I think there's like one service that does like pretty much a lot of the smaller ones are on all of that. I can't remember the name of it now, but there's definitely another service that has like not everything else, but a lot of everything else. Whereas we are missing that third option here in the comics.
Yeah, I think we are missing that. It would be really nice to just have Image, Boom, IDW all on a service, but they'd have to all agree on some kind of terms.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen, is it? At least not for a while.
Nah. Because it would be worth it. Like, you know, if you had DC at $13, Marvel about $12, and then you had this third one about $10, like to have access to every major publisher.
That was the Hulu method before they got bought by Disney, right?
Kinda, yeah.
You know, it was everybody else that didn't have their own streamer, and then slowly by the time they all got their own, and then,
yes.
You know.
Wait, so in this analogy, Netflix is ComiXology.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but they still exist, and they're just making mostly shit.
Isn't that Amazon's things that they're publishing themselves?
I guess so. Yeah, but at least Amazon Prime Video do make like
no. I mean, because Amazon publish comics like with reasonable creative teams for the most part, but no one ever cares or talks about them at any point. They've no impact on anything. They have like exclusive like Snyder comics, for example. I know that. I don't remember who else, but like there are notable names, and like no one cares about them. No one touches them, even though like they give them away for free with Prime half the time. Like no one cares.
I don't want this.
Yeah.
So funny.
Dear. So, yeah, no, good news. I didn't expect that to pivot into such a conversation, but
Yeah, right.
yeah, you all right, Matt? You have some...
Yeah, no, I went too hard at the gym on Thursday, and now my chest hurts, and I'm telling myself it's just my muscles and not anything interior. So I keep trying to pop, and it won't pop. So yeah, I'm just slowly dying. That's all.
Okay, just
Falling apart.
Aren't we all?
just so we know.
Yeah, I'm like the picture of Dorian Gray, except the picture's not hidden. And I feel like someone's actively burning it.
All right. So the other news, it's worth mentioning. There were some updates to like the all the movie and TV stuff this week. There were sort of basically just giving updates on all the projects they'd announced. And they also announced a few new animated series, including the Jessica Cruz-led Green Lantern animated show, which seems to be in the same universe as My Adventures with Superman. So there's that. There's a Starfire animated show. And
what now? You have my attention?
Yes, and Josie Campbell's involved in the writing of that one.
Oh, hot damn.
Yeah, that's excited. But they gave updates on Lanterns is definitely coming early 2026. There's even a photograph of the two actors playing Hal and John. So
yep, that's those actors. Absolutely nothing Lanterns about them.
Yeah, well, because they're just in street clothes. They're not like could even have given us like a nice little green glow from one of their hands just to tease us.
Right, and you can see on Kyle Chandler's hand there's a ring that looks pretty cool, but it just looked like the next season of Friday Night Lights. Kyle Chandler just looks like Coach Taylor.
I don't think you realize how old you sound just referencing that show casually, because that show's not new anymore.
No, it's not, and that's fine. He still looks like regardless of the show's new or not, Kyle Chandler has not aged. So he still looks like Coach Taylor.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But yeah.
They gave us some updates on things when certain things are coming. It sounds like, because there were some movie projects that I'd forgotten were even a thing, like a Teen Titans project, which apparently is going through like multiple drafts of a script right now.
AKA development hell.
I mean, they didn't sound too. If anything, the ones that sounded like they were going through development hell was the Waller spin-off show, because that sounded more like, oh yeah, this has not really moved very far since we last talked. Honestly, James Gunn and Peter Safran were very kind of candid about like where all these projects were. But they said Supergirl's movie's halfway through production right now, so that's still scheduled for next summer. Yeah,
cool,
I don't know.
cool.
Just worth on the updates. All these projects that are happening. So I'm still a little disappointed that Andy Muschietti's still attached to that Batman movie that's meant to be coming.
Ugh.
That's the Batman and Robin one, right?
Yeah, that's like the universe one with the Bat family.
Yeah.
But I've not liked any of his movies that much, so I'm.
There's also been casting rumors about Clayface, which are pretty cool. Seeing that headline pop up. Certain actors are in talks.
Well, I mean, technically, lots of actors may get cast as Clayface.
Yeah, I mean, they could do that too, right? It could be all of them. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Everyone's Clayface.
But yeah, it's kind of surreal to see that. Like, Jack Quaid, in talks for Clayface, or I forget some of the other names. That was the one that stuck out to me. But yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. That was just that the worth mentioning the movie and TV stuff a little bit. Not that there was any like bombshells, I don't think, other than those new animated series that came out of it. It was just mostly everything's progressing along nicely. So we'll see. They do claim they have some kind of like event ending in mind for all of what they've got planned, which they for lack of a better term compared to their end game. Now, whether or not they make it to that, or like how that all comes together, but
make a movie first.
Can I just get through Superman right now, guys? Let me get through and try to enjoy that, and then we'll talk about what's next.
It does annoy me a little bit. I'm like, all right, you can have a plan in the back of your head. Don't need to just make a couple of movies. Make a couple of good movies first, and see if people actually like them before you worry about that.
To be fair though, that might be exactly how they're approaching it, and it's just that the interviewers always have to ask, well, MCU had this, so like, if you got the big thing, and they can't just sort of throw their hands up and say, nope, not even thought about it.
I would love for James Gunn to be doing that. It's like, no, it's Superman, and that's it. All right. You get Guy Gardner, you get Mr. Terrific. We're not doing anything else.
They literally could just say, we're focused on this movie by movie right now. We want to make sure each project is delivered to the best of its, the best of our ability.
I get what you're saying.
Stock answer. Like,
yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think ultimately though, all this is equal in the other side. It's just like a little fluffy answer to give the press their soundbite, rather than it being that's all we're thinking about is the giant, like, intertwining mythology endgame approach.
I think one's a more neutral answer though, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not annoyed by them, because it'd be one thing if that's all they ever talked about, and it felt like, oh yeah, this is multimedia. They got all these things happening, and then blah blah blah. Like, but it feels like for the most part they're just talking about the movies that they're working on, and that's been pretty much it.
Sometimes I feel like James Gunn is that meme of messed around at work and now I'm accidentally important. Because he's just like, he showed up to make a Suicide Squad movie. Now he's in charge of DC movies.
I'm sure he loves it. I'm sure he was delighted to direct the Superman.
He loves the money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Connor, did you watch Creature Commandos?
I did not.
Okay.
I heard very mixed things about it, so I kind of just didn't bother.
It's pretty good. It's like 6-7 episodes. People were going extra nuts. The G.I. Robot episode, very, very, very solidly good, and same with the Weasel episode. It has that James Gunn kind of heart underlying there. So I think it's in good hands, judging just based off of that and Peacemaker. That seems to be well handled. But yeah, I'm very excited for all the Superman stuff. I saw the first Superman poster out at a theater last 2 weeks ago, something like that. And I was like, oh yeah, this is real. It's not just an internet thing. But yeah, so color me excited.
Yeah. Actually, what's weird is that I got the trailer when I went to see something recently, and it had a couple of alternate clips from the trailer that's online. There was a couple of different shots.
God damn it.
And I don't know if it's got an international version of the trailer or what, but there was just a few different shots.
Maybe Matt just needs to go to the cinema more so he can get the trailer.
Brother, I've been going more than I have, and I have not gotten it.
None of the wrong things.
Yeah. And probably.
I bet they showed it in front of Wicked.
No.
I done.
The trailer was online in December, so they may have been showing it in front of Wicked.
Well, if they did, Ash didn't tell me because she went to the theater to see it. So
wait, why are you reluctant to watching it if she's already seen it?
Because she wants to watch it again. Look, you know how many times I've made her watch Twisters? Right?
Twisters is significantly shorter, though.
True. And a lot more fun, all right?
Yeah.
I don't even think a Twister shows up by the end of that first Wicked movie. Does it? Do we see a house drop?
No.
Connor? Yeah.
No, I mean, no ending. I mean, that's the start.
If anything, wouldn't that be like the post-credit scene at the end of the second one? Because it's like, hey, this feeds into Wizard of Oz.
Imagine if the post-credit scene is just a clip from that movie, like the original movie. No, they don't recreate it. They just chuck a clip in.
Because I read the book that it's based off of. They based the musical on by Gregory Maguire, and they play around with the timeline a lot through that book, right? And there's Dorothy, and it starts with the house dropping, and then it goes back and tells the Felda story and stuff. And again, the book's fine. I it's whatever. But I didn't know if that's what the movie does, or if it's just a straight start at A.
No, I think it replaces. I'm completely blank on the character's name. It replaces Dorothy with Ariana Grande's character, basically. I think from what you're saying there, Glenda, yeah. Glinda. That's it, yes. Functionally, I think she's taking that place of it starts with her and then flashes back to that story.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But yes.
I mean, anyway, the point being is that because it's based on Wizard of Oz, it's not a 0% chance that there is a tornado some point in the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Can't rule out.
You don't face your fears, you ride them. So. There's that.
Yeah.
It's going to be Matt's movie of the year.
It probably is. It
was number 2. The Fall Guy was number 1.
Oh, okay. Right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I love The Fall Guy.
Fall Guy's a lot of fun.
I mean, I like it,
but
that
movie.
But number 1? Nah.
I mean, it's not my number 1, but
like if I'm picking an action movie from 2024, I'm probably going to go Beekeeper over Fall Guy if I'm honest.
No. Beekeeper's fun as well, but no. Don't be silly.
Fall Guy is trying too hard to actually be good. Beekeeper's aggressively what it is. That makes any sense.
I went to go see what my ones from last year were, and the first thing I see is Connor's half-star review on Letterboxd for Amelia Perez.
Oh yeah, it's that bad. It is truly one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's right down there.
I just love the half-star ratings.
I don't have many of them, but I just realized I don't think I added Fall Guy into my 2024 list. So I was just gonna check and see like how far above it I had.
Mm-hmm. So
what, Amelia Perez?
Yeah, obviously. That is actually. Do you know what? How bad that movie is? I have it below the Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earth animated movies, part 2 and 3. That's how bad it is, and those movies are terrible.
Okay. I actually, looking at the worst movies of 2024, I've got like a real Sophie's choice, if you will, of either Atlas, Megalopolis, or Rebelman Part 2, The Scargiver. Like, these are the things that are all there at the bottom.
God damn, Peter, you okay?
No,
I just say my bottom 5 at the minute: Amelia Perez, 2 of those Justice League animated movies, Maxine, and Wicked.
Maxine doesn't belong that low.
It's terrible.
No, sir.
It
doesn't
terrible.
belong in the
I
top.
hated
it. Wait.
I hated it.
I had Maxine at 23.
I also gave Godzilla Kong New Empire. It's currently sitting at 27 out of 33. So take that as you will, guys.
Mine's at 7. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, man, I loved that movie. Which I actually quite enjoyed it myself.
4 out of 10 movie.
No. You've not even seen Madam Web, Connor. You can see Madam Web.
Yeah, Madam Web's my.
I feel like I'll have more fun with that than I did with some of the other movies down there, though. At least, even if it is objectively.
Yeah, but Connor,
terrible.
I also watched Drive Away Dolls because you told me it was a lot of fun.
Oh, I mean,
it's so fun.
And that's near my bottom 5.
What?
No.
Yes.
I mean, I've watched enough
like
proper bad movies that it's not that low in my list, but it's pretty low. I thought that movie was painfully unfunny.
No, it's like 7.5 for me.
Nah.
10. It's solid. I have it above the Beekeeper.
Nah, Twisters was better than that one.
And I like Margaret Qualley. I hated her in that movie.
What?
Yes, her character drove me nuts. If her character was a guy, I would have tried to fight them. Right? That's how much I did not like them.
I had such a fun time with that movie. You two are wild.
Nah, painfully unfunny. It was trying far too hard.
We should talk about comics because I might have a hard out. I'm still waiting to hear back. So before we get through,
I also saw Hot Frosty. So I don't want to talk about it, but that was the thing.
And that wasn't even in your bottom 5, was it?
No, it's probably it's 6 from the bottom.
Okay.
So not in the bottom 5.
Not in the bottom 5, but it just misses it.
It just misses.
Right above that is Red One, so that's 7th bottom.
Bloody hell.
I just know the people that saw Megalopolis and were saying how good it was, and then seeing Pete's review of it, I was like, this tracks.
I still have like morbid curiosity about that movie, but it's so long that it puts me off.
Yeah, no.
Like, I will say this: there is a scene in the final 15 minutes with John Voight that is like has to be seen to be believed. It feels like it's out of a parody. But
you got to watch the other 3.5 hours before you get to that.
Do we know? Is it on? Is it
exaggerated a bit for comic effect?
Yeah, it's like 2 hours 20 minutes. It's not that long. Yeah, we said.
But
I bet it feels like 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the middle feels a bit long. Yes.
So I wonder if that John Voight scene's up on some site. We can just watch it that way.
It's probably on Twitter. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I was like, "What's Matt talking about? Pornhub?"
Well, maybe. I did see a thing that some people get paid more putting up like regular videos on that hub site versus YouTube because of the way that YouTube's done things.
Oh, the monetization. You get more per click on the hub.
And so people are putting up like physics homework ones there, and they're getting paid via. I just think that's hilarious.
So you should actually start putting the podcast on Pornhub.
Yeah, revenue distribution's better.
Yeah, whatever. If you need to, I can show a little leg. If that's what we need that's what we need for the thumbnail. I got gams.
We should talk about comics.
Yeah.
We went down a path.
I like how 2 minutes ago Matt tried to push us down that, and then somehow we ended up there.
Well, yes. Well, because you, I'm still. You put Maxine in that low at the bottom.
Maxine's my number 18 for the record, so it's it's reasonable. It's not, I liked it.
I liked it enough. It was a nice capper to the. It is the third of those Ty West movies, right? Like,
I've got a fairly solid top 25 for last year at this point. Just rounding out a few edges.
Cool. Once I can finally see Strange Darling, Honora, and The Substance, I feel like I can seal mine.
Now
I have a solid top 5. I could.
Out of those three, Matt, I loved one of them. I really liked the other. And the other one I found was quite disappointing. I will not tell you which one.
All the three. Honora, Substance. What was the third one?
Strange Darling. Which I'm sure I can guess by checking your letterbox.
I mean, you could, you could just check if you want to.
Just don't do that.
No, but I've seen Pete's, because Pete is one of the few people that I do trust for the most part. I can use him as a guidepost on things, So, it's him and Dan.
Except if it comes to Fall Guy.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, I like the Fall Guy. It's just not at the top of my list.
Right, not as much as I did.
Yes.
But who did? Maybe Gosling. Maybe he liked it as much as me. I don't know.
I do have it in my top 10, to be fair.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought Bullet Train was a little bit better to compare to the director's previous movie.
I love Bullet Train as well. That's my favorite movie of that
I was
year.
pleasantly surprised with Bullet Train. I was not expecting much from it, and it was quite good.
Yep.
Nice to have some good standalone action movies again. It's been a while.
Pete, are you excited? Are you excited for Ballerina?
No.
Are you excited for John Wick?
No, because the director is the asshole who did Underworld and Die Hard 4. It's going to be trash.
Oh, wait, he did?
Underworld.
Well.
What?
Because Connor, not everybody watches it with sound off.
Underworld's trash. I hate Underworld.
Underworld is trash, but it's amazing.
I didn't realize it was Len Wiseman. Now I'm more disappointed because I got distracted by Ana de Armas. So,
Matt, not only is it Len Wiseman, they delayed the movie by a year to reshoot all the action scenes because his action scenes were terrible.
Now I'm sad.
So I'm not expecting.
Means they care so much that the movie's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, because movies that have reshot half their scenes always work out fine in the end.
Yeah, because Connor, an action movie that had to reshoot the action is,
Hey, that just means they cared enough to make the action amazing. It was already fine, but now they've made it next level.
I was watching that trailer like Gosling in Blade Runner. All right. All right, let's talk about comics, because again, hard out, maybe. I'll know in about 25, 30 minutes if I
maybe by the time we start the first book then.
Yeah, right?
For the record audience, he doesn't have to leave in 25, 30 minutes. He'll know in 25, 30 minutes if he has to leave at some point.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Comics Eye. Yeah.
First book.
I was just closing. I had my year rankings up so I could fill you in on my worst of the year.
Madam Web was bad.
Madam Web was really bad, but I think that was at least funny bad in some places. There was more torturous to sit through.
Yes. I love that Tim pointed out that the weakness of the villain was just getting hit by cars that he jumps into.
It's a weakness to me as well.
Yes. Well, it's not. Yeah, but you're not jumping into them though, Connor.
Hey, you don't know that.
I don't think it's his weakness. I sort of read that more as Madam Web's main superpower was vehicular manslaughter.
Yeah.
Because she does it multiple times to the villain.
Hey, boy.
But it's fine because in the end, the Pepsi neon sign kills the villain. Spoilers for Madam Web. No one
Paid for
cares.
by Coca-Cola.
Oh no, there's a lot of Pepsi and Mountain Dew product placement in that movie.
Yeah.
They paid out the ass for it.
Yep.
Anyway, first comic, Detective Comics. Oh, I'll do that again so it's nice and neat for the intro without Matt jumping in. Oh, I'm dinging. Who's dinging me?
Shit.
perfect
You know
time.
what? Me and Pete have had a two-man weave going on for the last couple of weeks. We inject Connor into it and it's shambles.
I honestly assumed that was Matt dinging because it's usually Matt interrupting things.
No,
No, my dogs aren't barking this time.
No.
So,
Tim has sent me something. Hold on, he sent me an attachment. Let me click on this attachment.
are you guys talking about Madam Web?
You can sense it.
No, he sent me a link to Bloody Disgusting put out a post for a teaser for a movie called Pig Shit.
Yeah, let's go.
It is the squeal is real in Southern Fried indie slasher throwback. So Tim has told me about Pig Shit. Okay, that's coming later this year.
The important news you needed to know right now.
Yes. That the timing on that could have been better. Alright. Detective Comics 1094. Tom Taylor writing with MIkel Janin on the art. So, this is a little sting operate. Well, not sting. That's not the right word. Infiltration operation.
Infiltration undercover.
Yes, for Damien.
Yeah.
That's the main gist of this one. To try and figure out what's going on, because this one like sort of juvenile prisons, what's connecting all these victims, and there's a nice opening where Batman's determined to save the teenager that's next to him, and the car wreck and the fire, and all of that's pretty well narrated, I thought.
One of the better handled because Batman's, that makes sense, right? Like he factored in Asema doing stuff with pharmaceuticals, so he has essentially Bat Narcan ready to go, which I did like,
Yeah.
Just so he can save the kid.
Yeah, no, I like this because you've got obviously all the red and yellow colouring of that first page and a half, and then once he's got the kid inside the Batmobile, there's this sort of blue and sort of harsh pink lighting. I really like that.
Yeah.
That's bad. I do hate, like, I appreciate him being prepared for this stuff with the belt, like bringing those things along.
But do you hate the little arm?
I hate the little arm. I hate the little arm so much.
You win some, you lose some.
It's like R2-D2 sticking a little arm out of his belt. It's terrible.
I agree. R2-D2 is terrible. I agree with you, Connor.
That's not what I
Hey
said.
now.
I love how both Star Wars fans just got a little test.
Well, you could slander a lot of things, but you leave R2 out of it, all right? The man's a hero. He's the main character of those movies.
Yeah.
Sure, Chief. So yeah, basically Batman talks to Bullock with Robin. The teenager is in the hospital. Bullock's going to look after him, make sure he's protected. But this is where it gets to the main story of the issue, which is that Batman needs to know more about this prison for kids, so he's got a ringer. He's sending in Damien, and they've given him prosthetics that'll last a week, so he doesn't look like himself. And they're going to put him in there to scope things out. What, Matt?
Well, no, I just love that Janin draws it like those fake nose glasses. You know? Like, yes, these are big prosthetics that are
Sure.
going on Damien's face, right? But effectively, it's the glasses with the big nose that he's going in there with, and I thought that was kind of low-key funny.
Yeah, so we get introduced to this like evil warden who, immediately is an evil scum. Like, he just has that vibe about him, the way he talks to them.
Yeah.
The way he talks to Bruce, because Bruce comes under the guise of maybe like donating to the prison, and this guy is like, oh, like, yeah, so your parents got killed by criminals, so you want to make sure we're punishing these kids properly. Don't you worry, we're punishing them in ways that we can't report and no one gets to see. And like, he's got this big evil smile on his face, and then Batman's narration is, I hate this man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's going to punch this guy.
That smile versus the Bruce's like grim like look on his face is again Janin dialing it up.
He enjoys the knocking out of this guy just a little bit more.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
More than he should have done.
Yeah, he has to do it anyway. He knows he's doing it for the right reasons, but he gets to enjoy it, just that touch.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, he plants a thing, and so Oracle can like track all the cameras and whatever. But it's up to Damien now, and we also see that Anima is watching the teenager at the hospital. But honestly, this book did give me a huge laugh, or not even a laugh. I don't even know if that's the right word. I kind of laughed, but I laughed in kind of like a sort of like, not that's haha funny, but more I love this moment. It's making me laugh. So the whole thing here is that these guards basically go to beat up one of the prisoners who's like 10 years old because you're not supposed to talk when you're having lunch.
Eating.
And Damien, of course, doesn't stand for it, gets up and starts beating up the guards and all the rest of it. And when it cuts to Oracle, and she's like, hey, Batman, we got an issue. And he's like, what happened? And he's like, oh, the guards were going to beat up a 10-year-old. And he's like, Damien protected him? And she's like, yes. And then she's like, oh, he's built a barricade in the cafeteria and he's got full control of the prison. And then just that panel of Batman smirking, like, that popped me. Like,
yeah,
I was like,
it's only funny because earlier the bit we didn't address is Bruce like, just do what you're told, don't get sent to solitary, you got just follow the warden's orders, just do what they say, just suck it up for a few days.
Specifically, he tells him you can't save anybody from solitary, right? So just kind of play along. I know it's going to be hard, right? But in this instance where he's standing up for somebody that did do anything, and then he gets full control of the cafeteria, Bruce is like, that's my boy.
Yeah. And obviously he calls him and says, look, you're going to have to, like, sort of circumvent this, Damien, and deal with it.
Yeah.
So Damien comes out and says, look, I'll surrender on the condition that only I get punished, no one else. And the creepy Warren's like, oh, accepted. Yes, we will torture you. So they hook him up to a table, and they've got electric probes or whatever. We don't actually get to see exactly what they do. He's got a syringe. I'm sure Connor loved that panel.
Yeah, outside of stealing his blood.
Yes. That's right.
Very clear.
So yeah, that's the thing. It's like, okay, so the villain's probably getting blood from these teenagers. They're effectively being farmed. So Batman comes to get him out of solitary, and he's like, look, I need to stay and like figure out more stuff. And he's like, no, you did what you were supposed to do. You can't stay in here. We have to go. We've gotten enough information. And then the end of the issue is when they drive home. There is a note on the front of the Wayne Manor from Anima saying the truth you need to know. Now, does Anima I think we do know that she kind of has figured out that he's Batman, but I would say that on its own, this could be a case of, well, is she contacting Batman or is she leaving this note for Bruce Wayne specifically?
For Bruce Wayne, right.
But to be fair, we did have that whole blood test thing in last issue, so
it's irrelevant.
And also the boy that Bruce saves at the beginning seemed to be like a victim of circumstance. Like, he wasn't like a bad kid, right? He happened to be in the car that was stolen by a friend, and they went for a joyride, and he was the one that was taken in, and the friend, I think, was taken to the hospital, and that's how he ended up in that facility.
He died.
Oh, is it that he died? Right?
Yeah, because Batman went on about that at the start. He was like, "Oh, you have to sit there and watch your friend die."
That's right. And so it seems like there's something a little bit more going on with these kids than what we thought with Asema just, taking them out to snip the loose ends or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, is it possible? Well, I'm sure Batman will never be on board with her killing them.
Yeah.
Is it possible that she has some kind of more slightly noble intention than just being a murderer?
Yeah. Right.
Seems like it might be leaning that way based on that note.
Yeah. So very, very curious. Going on here. Yeah.
No, I thought it was just pretty good. I think it had that main focus of the Damien and the prison story to kind of anchor it and made it feel like we got a full chapter. Added some weight to how much Batman cares about these teenagers. And the art is pretty gorgeous, so.
Yeah, and it's Tom Taylor smartly taking on a social issue, right? With, kind of these for-profit prisons that deal with kids and how they pump them out. And they're just essentially a number, because even the warden refers to them as units, not as, juveniles or prisoners or anything. He's just looking at them as numbers. So, Taylor does this in a way where it doesn't come off as preachy or anything, which,
like, units is like one step away from calling them assets. Like, it's just one little baby step away from that.
So, and then it's in line with what Taylor was doing over on Nightwing with the corruption of the city and whatever. So, I like to see it continuing here in Gotham.
Yeah, I really like that Damien and like Oracle and some of these other characters have been like prominent supporting cast in this book. It doesn't feel like Taylor at any points had this feeling of like, oh, it has to be just the Batman book. No, there's like the entire Bat family can rotate in and out as they make sense for the story, which is cool. So yeah. I mean, honestly, like, the only downside to this issue is that it has to live up to that one panel from last month with, like, Batman standing in front of the shotgun saying, "You're such a little man." Like, you know, like, that's such a hard panel to top that, you know, fair play, it can't do it every month, but this was a really focused chapter on the story. I'm liking the themes he's playing with, and once again, the only thing lingering in the background that could derail this run is that poking of the bear of the Joe Chill stuff and how that comes up.
And I
again.
like how that wasn't brought up at all in this issue.
I'm sure you did.
Which means we got a double dose of it next time.
Don't say that.
To be fair though, it's always been like just sprinkled one, you know, every few issues. It's had like a thing.
At some point though, we're getting a full issue dedicated to it.
Probably, and that's the thing. It might not be bad. It may, like he's teasing us. He's teasing that it could. You know, we're all worried about what he might do with it, but I'll give Taylor some faith. He's earned a little bit of trust.
100%.
So Connor's not convinced.
No, not for me. No, I'm sorry. I think he has trust and faith in a lot of things. I think when you're messing with stuff like that, it's such a general critique that we have over so many Bat writers that I think it's only fair that I hold him to the same standards as all the others.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, if he does something I don't like with it, if he tries to say
I
Joe
think
Chill,
there are very little things he could do with it that I will be like, oh, that's fine, actually.
It just kind of depends. As long as he doesn't have Joe Chill intentionally kill the Waynes.
Yes, that's what I was going to get at.
That's the main thing. As long as he doesn't.
As long as it's still
a
a random act of violence, and if he sees that it's Thomas Wayne, and that motivates him to pull the trigger a little bit, it'll still be a bit disappointing because it's not nearly as random. But again, we haven't seen Joe Chill like almost at all, except for the beginning. I mean,
and as far as we know, like Joe Chill doesn't even know like the doctor who helped him or treated him. You know, like that might never be something he's aware of.
And that would be a thing too that he finds out later that that's the doctor that saved him and he's responsible for the death of. You know what I mean? Maybe that could affect him later.
I just think for me personally, even if it's like maintains everything from like the past and it's not injecting new stuff into that, if it's instead it's about Bruce confronting him and like having to deal with that, I'm just not particularly interested in that side of it either. Again,
but I get you don't know if that's what they're going to do though.
I don't. But
as of right now, all we really have is that Joe Chill had a daughter that is factoring into the plot, and that could just be that. And if it's just that, then I'm not going to be mad.
Right, but it's not going to be just that. I'm sorry, it's not.
Maybe we don't know.
Yeah, he's not done the crime yet, so I'm not going to convict him.
All right, well, I will, and you can drag him out of prison later if I'm wrong.
Can't investigate in solitary, Tom Taylor.
Aye, very good. Yeah. No, I mean, I actually, I really like this. I think this run is kind of playing to the strengths that Taylor usually has, which is good serialized storytelling, where I'm always kind of invested in the larger arc, as well as just whatever he's focusing on in for the single issue. It's kind of the perfect. He's one of the better like ongoing writers in that sense, and why I like his work so much is that I tend to find I like following his runs. So, all right, Matt, what are you giving Detective Comics?
I'm at 8.5.
Connor.
Wow, that was high. I think it's a solid issue. Like it's good. Probably like a 7. I think Janin's dad does a lot of heavy lifting as well, especially with him doing his own colours. I think he's doing great here.
It's a solid 8 out of 10 for me. I think it's a great chapter of the run and the arc. I love Damien getting a bit of focus. The heart of him protecting the other kids and all that, I think really worked. And Batman not even being pissed that he technically went against what he said, because yeah, you're right. If I was in that position and I saw a 10-year-old about to get punched or hit with a bat, I'd have stepped in too. So yeah, like father like son, I guess. Cool. Superman issue 23, legacy number 866, Joshua Williamson writing with Dan Mora on the art. So we had the end of last issue be Time Trapper, aka Future Doomsday, stop time to have a chat with Lois and try and convince her what Superman wouldn't accept, which is that they need to work with him And Lois is pretty adamant that she won't, even when he brings up, oh, when Superman killed me, the last thing I remembered wasn't him. It was you weeping over his dead body. That's the last memory I had. And she doesn't buy any of this. She kind of stands her ground and whatever. However, when time unfreezes, though, Jimmy was right in the firing line of disaster, and she doesn't quite make it in time to completely save him. So Jimmy's in the hospital later on in the issue.
Yeah, and that was by design by Time Trapper Doomsday, because he said, I'm not going to do the same for what I did for your husband, where I put him back with seconds to spare. He unfreezes time, as it were. So, a bit of manipulation on his part here.
Yeah, it almost felt like he was punishing her for daring to go against him.
She also smacks the shit out of him. I don't know if it's a punch or a slap or what it is. But yeah,
I'm sure Lois has fantasized many times about punching Doomsday.
Yes,
I think it's a punch. It looks like a closed fist.
Because it says crack, right? But the way that he reacts, it's like he was slapped, and So again, it seems like he's just being petty here.
Yeah, and of course, what's going on during all this is that the aliens are trying to get to Doomsday, right? That's what was going on when time froze. So Superman's in the midst of that fight. He starts beating up Time Trapper when he sees him. And it's kind of neat because Lex is the one who comes out and kind of deals with everything by bottling Doomsday and the aliens into a city with Brainiac tech. And Lois is aware that he's about to do this, so she flies in and has to kind of get Superman away so that he's not shrunk down with everyone else. So it's an alright end to the fight. It works well enough. There's some nice art mixed in. Yeah,
I do like that Mercy points out if Doomsday dies in that bottle, we don't know what type is coming next.
I'm a bit confused by this. This feels very contrived because it's obviously Lois and Clark share a look based on that because they know, then maybe this is where he gets the time trapper powers from. My confusion is, why would the time slowing kill him? Because Lex just says, time slowed inside the bottle. And most
the aliens are in there with him, right?
Yeah, so I think
the radiant.
I think the worry is that the aliens in there are going to try and kill him inside the bottle, say.
Right, but Mercy specifically says if Doomsday dies because of time slowing down, not while time is slowed down, because of time. And I don't understand.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake of wording by Williamson.
Yeah.
But even if that is the case, he'd be if it is a mistake and he dies while time is slowed down. It's not time slowing down that's killed him, because they're all slowed down in there, so they're on an even field. It's just nonsense.
How about I'll try to play devil's advocate. I'm not saying I'm putting my weight behind this, but to play devil's advocate, what if wounds that wouldn't otherwise kill him do so because time is slowed down? I'm just positing. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't understand, because the way they usually show this with time slowed down, inside the bottle, is it's still passing normally for them inside the bottle, they're experiencing it relative, right? None of this makes any sense to me.
Honestly, this was better than Williamson usually wraps up things, which is not to say that it's great. It's kind of, it falls into that same kind of line where when they initially revealed that people who had a history of Doomsday and were survivors of planets that Doomsday had destroyed were coming for Doomsday, I was like, that's a really neat idea. I like the sound of that. And then here's kind of the sort of weak wrap-up of it where I'm like, okay, it was a decent enough little thing, but it doesn't feel like as big a deal as it felt like it was going to be when it was introduced, which is kind of Joshua Williamson's writing in a nutshell.
That's him in a bag, right?
He makes something feel like it's going to be a huge deal to begin with, and then by about 3 issues later, I'm usually like, oh, that's underwhelming now. Almost every time. So,
this is very typical Williamson at this point.
But there's definitely been other arcs, though, where he's pissed me off more. This was just kind of okay, it's fine. Yeah.
Well,
I'm more indifferent here than other occasions, but that specific thing, because if he hadn't had the look that Lois and Clark gave it, I'm like, maybe that's just it's a maybe, but the look feels very implicit of no, this is what happened. But I hate it.
I mean, they don't know that for sure, though. They're just obviously thinking, maybe this is how he becomes that version of Doomsday.
Yeah, because they're the only one that know that version exists at this point.
I just don't understand the logic of bringing it up to begin with, and that's where it feels contrived to me. And it feels like he's just especially if Bella Williamson just went, I don't know how to get from Doomsday to Time Trapper. Quick, throw in a line.
Well, that's the thing for me, is I felt like Time Trapper Doomsday was like not the next Doomsday. I always felt like that's like
so far in the future.
Yeah, that felt like 50,000 years down the line Doomsday.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So yeah, that's whatever. So Jimmy's in the hospital. Silver Banshee's pissed about it and shows up to fight Lois and says, "I'm your nemesis now. Congratulations."
Your first arch enemy.
Which again I like in a vacuum, but at the same time, did not Siobhan know there was a war going on? Why wasn't she bansheed up to protect her boyfriend? He was trying to get the shot of Superwoman, right?
What's funny, that's not my issue with this. I do have an issue, but it's not that. But fair enough. I'm not arguing with yours. My issue is more that she shows up and says, "Oh, Jimmy got hurt because he's been trying to get a photo of you, so I'm blaming you for this." And I'm like, wait a minute. You've met Lois. You've been on double dates with Lois. How are you not seeing this is Lois Lane right now, Siobhan?
Yeah.
Like, if they just not mentioned that she's got some sort of fancy Luther Corp tech that's like changing her face for people.
But she definitely doesn't, because that's why she keeps having to super speed her to not get the picture.
That was a whole plot point, yeah. So why is Silver Banshee not recognizing her right now?
I don't know. Williamson doesn't know what he's doing sometimes, and just like because I don't have an explanation for this.
Yeah, that annoyed me. That was the part that annoyed me, because I love Silver Banshee as a character. I think she's got a cool design. I loved when I read like the 90s Supergirl stuff, and she was like a villain in that. But
I think it's a little bit frustrating to me that it just took one instance. Like, she's been such a strong character in this run with this, not rehabilitation, but this new dynamic that she's had, this relationship with Jimmy. It feels like they're throwing it all away here for quite a minor reason in the grand scheme of things.
To be slightly fair, I don't necessarily think they're implying that she's just going full villain again. It kind of just sounds like she hates Lois or she hates Superwoman, and it's just that.
Maybe. Well, I'll have to see where it plays.
It should be Lois, because for two reasons actually. One, because she should recognize her. It's stupid she doesn't. But two, Jimmy's trying to get the photo for his boss, and who's his boss? His boss is Lois Lane.
A plus B equals C. Yeah.
So it's doubly her fault.
Yeah.
From her perspective, I mean, like, obviously I'm not blaming her, but still, I just, that wound me up a little bit. So we see Zod in space, some alien dude saying, "Hey, you've not got your powers," and Zod's like, "No one can know," and then like snaps his neck or crushes his head or whatever he does with his hand.
Minus powers too. So
yes,
Zod doesn't miss Grip Strength Day. We know this.
Oh, sure, yes. I mean,
it's believable.
I also think this alien has a kind of a thin neck compared to human beings, so I think that this was like, like, I'm not saying I could do it, but
no, I do also think we don't know the species, but maybe this is just how they, how they do. It'll grow back. It'll be fine.
No, I mean, I think he's killed him because he doesn't want anyone to know he's powerless. I think that's the gist of it. But that's a nice moment.
Also, it says sploosh. So yes, definitely. There's nothing left.
Splish indeed. And then the final scene is Time Trapper Doomsday at the end of time, and he's just complaining about Superman and everything else. And then it reveals who's shown up to talk to him at the end here. And they say, "You messed up, Time Trapper. You tried to work with the wrong side. We'll give you what you want. But first we'll rip you from your mind everything you know about this Superman." So they're going to take that from his mind, and I'm looking at these characters and I'm like, wait, I had to think about who they were, because it wasn't immediately sticking out to me. But this appears to be the dark side version of the Legion of Superheroes.
Yes, but also it looks like it's, and I'm looking up the name of them. There's a an evil Legion, right, that are counter. So it was Lightning Lord, Saturn Queen, and Cosmic King, and that's who these appear to be. Yeah,
and this is tying into like Darkseid's
the Dark
Absolute
Side
Universe.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see what the name of this group was, because it wasn't just a Legion of Villains.
It was Legion of Darkseid or something like that.
Yeah, well, this was the Darkseid's Legion, but originally these characters that showed up in Legion, right, that were like they were the evil version of the main three from Legion. And they had a name. They showed up in Jeph Loeb's Superman Batman run and stuff. So unless this is just the evil Legion from the Omega, right? And it is our regular ones. But yeah,
Wait, I'm confused by
good for Time Trapper.
I'm confused by everything you just said there. You made that confusing. I like. Do you think this is some sort? These are old characters coming? Because my read on this page was just that this is the new version of the Legion from the Absolute Universe. I think this is tying into what's going on with the overall DC stuff right now.
So I'm definitely overthinking it, right? But it just the way that their costumes are, it's very much those evil versions of the Legion. Right? So I don't know if this is if that's one and the same yet, but yeah. Like I don't know if it's just the Omega ones, right? The absolute version of the Legion of Superheroes, right? That are all evil, or these pre-established characters or not. You know what I mean?
I definitely think it's the absolute version. I mean, whether or not the old versions have merged into those absolute versions, that's another question. But I do definitely think this is tying in, because even earlier in the issue, one of the things that Time Trapper said was like, oh, they don't even know how bad it's going to get after Darkseid returns. Yeah. So I think this is all like tying into what the greater, DC stuff is right now. Mm-hmm. That's my guess anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, as far as Williamson issues of Superman go, it's not bad.
No. So I was reading this in bed, and my wife looked over, and she goes, "What's going on? Why does that Superwoman look like Lois?" And I was like, "Oh, do you have time?" And I started explaining things, and the more you explain it, the wilder it sounds. So unless you've been reading from the start and stuff, and then I explained about the powers and Doomsday and Time Trapper, and she's like, "I don't care. I'm gonna go back to watching SpongeBob." So
that was probably the smart choice.
I'm going to go back to watching SpongeBob. I'm like, I love how if I didn't hear at the start of that, my wife turned to me. You could have been talking to like a niece or something, like like an 8-year-old who looked over and said, "What's that?" in the comic.
Yeah, everyone has their comfort stuff they put on before bed. Sometimes it's Seinfeld, sometimes it's
SpongeBob.
Sometimes and I just read. No, maybe for me, but not. I'm sharing too much. No.
That was a quick one.
No, but maybe yes.
Maybe yes.
I'm not denying nor confirming. All right.
Very good. Yeah. I like. Obviously, there were some problems. I think the ending to what was going on with the Doomsday stuff was a bit underwhelming, but it's fine.
What do you think about Dan Moore's art?
I mean, it's generally good because Dan Mora is a good artist. Like,
I think it's not his best.
No, it's
perfectly fine.
Compared to just other books that came out this week, it's definitely the lesser of the two, but it's still pretty good. Art-wise, I like a lot of the action sequences. The like when Lois is sad because of Jimmy, her just floating over the skyline, I think looks really good with the colors and whatnot. But yeah,
there's a few points that look a little bit overly messy. Like there's a bit too much going on, and I don't know if he inks his own stuff or not, but it feels like there's not enough separation in the layers. He cannot
have time to do that himself, surely.
Let's see. Hold on.
No, it must have. It's got a colorist.
It's artist.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, Dan Moore's just a superhuman then.
Again, how does he do this?
I don't know.
Like most pencilers can't do 2 issues a month, and he's just inking them as well.
It's a bit concerning, right?
Yeah.
Like he must be doing something wrong.
Do you know what it is? It's not an AI thing, but in the way that we talk about AI, but I think he's built a robot. He's built actual artificial intelligence who can just draw the second issue. That's my theory at this point.
Maybe he just has a slave locked up that can do it for him.
Oh.
God damn, Connor.
I'm not saying
he's trying to keep it light.
I'm not accusing him. I'm just saying, can we?
More. If you listen to this, that is Connor that is slandering your name, not Pete nor Matt.
Yes, thank you.
I did not say he did. I'm saying, can we rule it out?
I'm saying allegedly.
What you want? A search warrant to go check his house?
I think this is probably enough grounds for one.
Look, I'm saying he has the multiplicity machine, and there's a clone or 2, maybe 3.
All right.
And that's how he's doing it all.
Clones works too, yeah.
Okay, actually, quick question here, because we got that Lex Luthor special already. Is Lex already remember who he is here, or is this before Lex remembers who he is?
I think it's remember who he is, and that's why he can activate the Brainiac technology.
That makes sense. Right? But it's not like that.
It's not addressed at all.
No, it's not addressed, and it also that special did not feel like it took place between these 2 issues, given where the cliffhanger was and how this
Right.
picked up right after.
Right.
So that's a bit weird, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, for him not remembering who he was in the last issue, right? And whatnot, for all that stuff to happen, for him to access the Brainiac technology well enough to get the aliens and Doomsday and everything, he has to remember. That's
Yeah, he's wearing the purple and green. He's there using the tech. Like, he's able to explain all of it really easily. I don't know. It feels like Lex.
yeah. Although Mercy still got the hots for him because she's like, yes, honey, I'll turn on this big machine for you.
She's, see what happens when you're a ginger that's also bald. You get Mercy.
Well, it's a mercy that their hair went away.
But he still has the beard.
Yeah.
Aye, but he can shave that. He usually does. It's just this arc or run.
I love that people forget that Lex is a ginger and he's the ultimate evil in the DCU, right? Like, but they also have Wally West, who's one of the ultimate goods. So, and Babs.
Balance is out.
Well, there's more good gingers than bad gingers in DC, so that's how it goes. Are we counting Starfire? She's an alien.
No, because that's like that's not like human ginger. That's like special alien orange.
Yeah. Tamaranian.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a different tier. All right, Matt, what are you rating Superman?
I'm giving this a 7.5.
Connor?
I was fine with that annoying bit at the end, so like 5.5.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a 6.5, something in there. Yeah, I'll say 6.5. Because I think it's a pleasant enough read, just with a couple of things sticking out or underwhelming elements. But yeah, I'll go with that. All right, Absolute Wonder Woman issue 5. Kelly Thompson writing with Hayden Sherman on the art. So this is actually the end of the first arc on this book, where she finally deals with the Tetracide. The big sword did some work from the end of last issue, but not quite enough to make it retreat. So she has to think a little outside the box. There's a fun little bit at the start, actually, where some jets fire some missiles, but the Tetracide can just deflect them. So she has to actually go after them and stop them from hitting the city. And her Pegasus even gets the last one. She thinks it's going to hit something, and then the Pegasus comes in and deals with it. So it's a whole fun thing, almost like a fun little comedy beat as she flies up to the fighter pilot and says, hey, please don't do that again. And he's like, yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. And then as she flies away, just it's like, whoa. Right? Because that's how we would all react. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Absolute Wonder Woman's so cool. I just like her as a character.
She's pretty badass. I think that's fair to say. So I got a little confused in this issue for a bit. I had to think back to previous issues to clear my confusion, because Cersei, we go to a flashback, right, on the Wild Isle, and Cersei whips out this green lasso, and I was like, wait a minute, but she already has a lasso, right? This is a different lasso, and it is. Yes. I double checked that there was a lasso previously. This is this is the nuclear lasso
This is the breaking case of absolute emergency. Oh, I played football today for the first time in 2 months and just pulled a hammy. Ooh, just sitting here, I love it. Okay, I'll be all right.
He's getting really old. So this is like the lasso. I mean, it's got a name. I have no idea.
Sacrifice.
It's sacrifice. Yeah, I'm not gonna try. You know what though? I might ask one of my buddies that can read.
Yeah, but it's not
Greek.
written as sacrifice. It's written.
No.
It's in Greek. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
That's why they translate for us, so we can just call it sacrifice.
All right. So we see her like test it on something, and it turns. And Wonder Woman thinks it's a bit cruel. But Cersei's like, no, you need this.
Yeah.
You're gonna be fighting dangerous things. I can see your future. Blah blah blah. And then Wonder Woman has a wee chat with a god to get a pep talk.
Hecate.
Yeah, Hecate shows up.
That's the absolute version's Hecate.
I love how she appears, just like quite ethereal, like blinding light.
Yeah. Well, and then the three forms are given with the the different arms, right? So it's not like the version that we've seen before. It's Sherman's kind of unique take, which I like.
Yeah, and she basically says, "Hey, your mother there loves you, and she can see the future. So maybe trust that if she says you need this weapon, perhaps she's seeing some situations in which you will very much need it. Have a bit of faith." So Diana ultimately does go in and kind of thanks her for it and accepts that this is something she might need. So then we kind of see like how she's going to use it in the big fight with the monster, and she wraps it around herself, and we don't know what she's going to do at first. We just know she's using the lasso, and she's going to turn into something that can maybe take this thing on. She ends up turning into a kaiju-sized Medusa.
I love it.
So good.
Well, as soon as she started growing scales and stuff, and when she says, "I am become doom," I was like, "Oh, this is Medusa."
Well, it was definitely giving me "I have become death, destroyer of worlds" vibes. That line. I'm just laughing at Matt's. I love it. It sounded like a sound burp you put in an advert for like a new
breakfast cereal.
Yeah, like a breakfast cereal. It's like, I love it.
I love it.
Anal sex.
Also trying not to scream in pain. I'm trying not to scream in pain because my leg really hurts right now.
I want to do like a supercut of just saying different random things, and then just cut to Matt going, I love it.
No, because that's gonna go sideways so bad. I already know. I don't trust you.
Anyway, so yeah, so this is actually where the first time it cuts to the reactions of all the other characters. I mean, Steve, the others, like all of them, Barbara.
Yeah, the Candy sisters.
Etta, that was the one I was trying to think of and couldn't think of as Etta's name.
Yes, I don't remember her sister's name, but she's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but and we got Barbara Ann there too, which her showing up in issue 4 is a monumental moment for me.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And and they reiterate just the rule here, and they're very specific about it, because I did have the thought, wait, they're all seeing her on TV here. Wouldn't this be a problem? But they specifically say looking into her eye is what causes the effect.
It is in some versions, like if the camera showed her eyes, that would still be too
enough.
bad. Like, that would be enough. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously they can choose whatever they want to do with this. But yeah, she turns the giant monster into stone. And
then shatters it later.
The last one she's back to being a human, because actually probably the heart of this issue is like, wait, because obviously this feels super easy, right? It feels like, wait, you can just turn into a giant monster of Medusa. How could you not just win every fight this way? But then we get introduced to like the problem with this is that she can't just like willingly turn back. It takes Steve, who has to like sort of say, I'm going to go out and try and help her turn. And he blindfolds himself, but he's like, look, she gave up her arm for me. I'm not just leaving her out there to be this monster. And, so he goes out and he sort of speaks her down, and it does turn her. It's very much like, like someone calming down Hulk or something like that. And like,
yeah.
I will say, I loved this page. I wish it wasn't a double page splash. Spread.
Sure.
Because I think if you split it halfway and you get like just that moment of her face, like, her giant face coming back to normal. I think naturally when you turn into your double page, your eyes glance at things. Like you just happen to catch things out of the corner of your eye, and you can see a regular looking Wonder Woman on the far right, so you know what the page is going to be already. And I think that takes away from it a little bit.
Honestly, there's no reason why you couldn't just split this out of 2 single pages, because there's nothing. There's a little bit of symmetry with like that vertical panel on either side, but like,
I still think that would have worked.
Yeah,
perfectly fine. And I didn't just. It's a little thing, but I think it's just something that in terms of structuring your pages, I think could have improved it a lot. Yeah,
the art's cool on that page, but for me, it was really the choice of Steve making this decision, and like the others try to talk him out of it, but he's like, no, I'm not going to leave her out there. I'm going to go and like try and fix this, and he does.
Right, because kind of the subtext is how the story of Medusa, it's about the cruelty of the gods, right? So the fact that Steve's going to rise above that type and go out there himself, even though he probably shouldn't, and rise to the occasion, because she has that line at the end of, one good man can save the world, Steve, thank you, right? So it's just kind of like, you have to choose cruelty, right? And Steve's choosing the opposite here, and it just fits the whole thematic vibe of the issue.
Yeah. So she shatters the giant stone version of the monster, and it's a whole big epic moment. And she basically says, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I've got lots to do up here on Earth." However, as she's saying this, a crack on the ground appears behind her, and a giant blue glowing hand pulls her down, seemingly to hell. So it just ends with like Etta saying, "What the f?" Like, what just happened?
Well, and also she kind of does a roll call of the different goddesses that she reveres too. So I'm wondering if that has to do with this next piece, right? This ethereal hand.
Hades feels a bit left out. Where's my shout out?
Yeah, something like, because he, she is from hell, right? She's not from Paradise Island anymore, and that's Hades' realm. So, or in a twist, this is Persephone or whatever, right? If you know your Greek.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of good stuff. I love Hayden Sherman's breakdown still and layouts. The way they just
my only art problem is that page layout, which I don't know whose choice that was, but it's the only moment where I thought the art took away from a beat, and it wasn't even like there was anything wrong with the art, just the choice of how the
pacing, right, and the structure. Yeah. I do like the following page though, where she punches the tetracide, and you just can follow the ripples.
Yeah,
through
and that
sequence,
and that absolutely should have been a 2-page spread. That one, because that's like the scale of the monster going across the 2 pages.
Yeah, real good stuff.
Yeah. I guess my only hope is I don't want the next arc to be her on her own in hell. I hope that the supporting cast still get to sort of interact with her.
Yeah, we have Barbara Ann there that has been introduced as kind of an expert in Greek stuff too, and then you have the Candies and Etta's sister knows the witchcraft. So like they kind of have this team that is maybe capable of going down, and maybe it's like a rescue. Like she rescued them, so now they get to rescue her, kind of thing. It'd be cool.
I think if not, it's fine for me to have one arc without them. If then the arc is her getting back to them and then like having the cast going forward. I think it was smart to start the arc with having this cast built up, like having that at the start of the book, rather than doing an arc on her own first.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll be okay with it.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, the book's been great. It's been a bit of a standout these last few months, and I have very little to complain about. Really, I kind of agree with that page being 2 pages or a 2-page layout as opposed to just 2 single pages. But other than that, I don't know how much.
I love because it came from Connor. You have to say you kind of agree, just so you're not in lockstep.
Well, it's not something that I necessarily thought about as I was reading it, but I can't argue with his logic.
No, I do, because his point about we're talking about him like he's not here, but Connor, your point about it drawing your eye.
Don't address the ginger, Matt. Talk about him as if he's a figment.
Do you know what, like, obviously it's something that happens naturally anyway, whenever you have any double page. I think this one's a little bit more egregious because I think it draws your eye slightly more because of the colors. Because for most of it, it's all green. But obviously, she's red there, and the red sticks out, so you can't help but notice it.
I think arguably the circular panel also draws your eye because there's more negative space.
The negative space around it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that is sometimes an issue when it comes to like page turns, and when the writer's counting on that page turn to add like suspense or whatever, and this kind of deflates it a little bit, but not
I do fully think if you split that into 2 pages very easily, you get that moment like, your eye still sees that before the first vertical panel.
Yeah.
But you've already had the moment with her face coming through. She's coming back, and that's a big, that still hits there. Whereas I think seeing it before any of the attempt has been made does undermine it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
I'm all about building the connections between the characters, and Steve having to make the choice to go out to bring her back down, and them all being there together makes it genuinely feel like a strong supporting cast of a group, and it's only going to make the possibility of Barbara, becoming something else. If she does, it's the absolute universe, so it may be someone else.
It's true, and maybe it's she takes on this power to help Diana out, right? Because there's the theme of sacrifice in here, right? That's the whole point of this nuclear lasso, as we're calling it.
What if it's not even her? What if it is Cheetah in this universe?
Right? It could be too.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm not saying I expect that. I'm just
No. Yeah.
So all right, Matt, what are you giving Absolute Wonder Woman?
I'm giving this a 9.
Connor?
8.5. I am knocking half a point for that 1-page layout.
Yeah, I'm happy to agree with the 9 out of 10 on this. It's been an excellent first arc. Looking forward to see how the second arc starts off next time. So cool. Green Lantern 20, Legacy number 556, Jeremy Adams writing with Jack Herbert on the art. So we left off last issue with Hal leaving the team, who were going to try and steal one of the key ingredients for building a power battery, as the source orb, as we find out later.
Right, unobtainium, if you will.
Yeah, but this issue actually starts where I was like, because I was actually thinking, oh, what were we doing last time? Because, like, you know, we start off introduced to this new character, this alien blacksmith on a planet, and it's basically like 3 or 4 pages of like just how shitty his life is, right? He's been bullied by this guy and not being paid for his sword. His wife is like, oh, I'm just going to go out and maybe find another man. Maybe I'll be back. Maybe I won't. Then he's like pushed down and mugged in the street. And then the wife is like, oh, I might just never come back. I found this guy who's, you know, basically she cucks him, right? For lack of a better term, right? And it's all just building up. And as soon as I saw the red glow around him, I went, oh yeah, Hal went off to like deal with like a red lantern anomaly. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I love this opening once I got to that, because I was like, this means so much more to me now that you've given me like who this guy is, this backstory of what built up to this rage.
It feels like a real... Obviously, there's not that much with it, but he feels like a real person.
Yeah, it's just enough to be like, okay, you know what? I sympathize with him a little bit, and because of that, like, I care when Hal, like, you know, comes down and starts, you know, having a green sumo wrestler to try and fight him and whatnot.
Goddamn, they're having fun with the constructs in this one.
Yeah. So Hal's trying to look into this, and he finds the blacksmith and a bunch of his cronies, or not the blacksmith, sorry, the guy who was getting a sword off of him, and all of his cronies are all lying dead. It's a whole thing. So it really sort of like made me care about this little like story that Hal's on his own, which is really cool. And then a lot of the rest of the story is with the others at the source wall, and like, let's just say it, Matt's probably going to give this issue a 10 because it went very heavy on referencing one particular thing. And I just want to hear Matt say that Kyle Rayner's now risen up his rankings a bit, because Kyle Rayner goes full Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Kyle has good taste. I've never said that, except for the stupid crab mask, which I still will hate. I hate that crab mask.
Just think how much better that outfit would be without the
crab mask.
He just had the regular domino mask. He looks rad as shit, you know?
Crab mask is life.
I will say, if you give him the regular mask, it'd probably look a bit Zorro there.
With the
that's
hat,
okay.
yeah.
With the hat and the whip.
Because you know, we go to the ship, and it's Kyle, the Connor Kent, and Odyssey, that new character that was introduced last issue. And they're like, hey, should we wait for Hal? And then they basically say, oh, we have to wait for Hal because Kyle, you know, whatever. And he's like, no, I'm the Green Lantern. We can go do this now.
Kyle's scared he's gonna get into trouble. He's like, no, I'm not afraid of trouble.
So he says we're raiding the Promethean temple, and he lanterns up Indiana Jones hat and whip around him. And you know what's so funny is I saw this and I went, okay, Matt's going to gush about this, and then the references kept coming later, and I'm like, okay.
I had a big I love Jeremy Adams so much. I feel like me and him are kindred spirits at this point, because he does this a lot. He pulls from stuff that I love, and I feel like we're around the same age. Me and him, he might be a little bit older, but yeah, we share similar passions for stuff. And
he's probably younger.
Definitely loves Indiana Jones, you know.
Yeah.
But yes, but that, and just the whole concept of the source wall and whatnot is such a great thing in DC. So to send these three there, right? We have a Time Bandit, you know, the artiest lantern, and then
we got the heist expert effectively, and then we've got her figuring out there's a bunch of traps and like booby traps, and we have to really like think about this and go slow. And then
he got caught by a trap.
He did.
I did.
Well, so, and here I'm thinking like, oh, Penitent Man. I'm going back to Last Crusade. I'm like, what's he pulling from? I was like, oh wait, he has a Kryptonian. Like, none of this means
just
anything.
walk straight through it.
He's like, hey, any kryptonite? And they're like, no, why? And he just like, I'll just set them all off. It's fine.
Oh god. And then he looks really cool, you know, with all the steam coming off of him. You know, everything's behind him and whatnot.
I like he takes the jacket off first. Like, hold this. I don't want to ruin the jacket.
Yeah, the jacket's important to him. So we go back to Hal, and Hal's found the blacksmith who's got all the Red Lantern energy. Found a couple of bits here where he lanterns up like a Roman shield and Centurion helmet and stuff like that.
Which as a someone that enjoys history, the Roman legion was kind of only as strong as its phalanx. So one soldier, like Hal, you can conjure more, but
Yeah.
So
More gladiator
it looks
style,
cool.
this, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but the end of this is really sad though, because basically the alien gets so angry that he basically just explodes with anger.
He gets consumed by his own anger.
Yeah.
I like that he just leaves the hammer behind.
Yeah, and again, speaking right to my tastes.
Yes, very Thor, of course. Yeah, and I love the silent panels of Hal looking down. He's just like, he couldn't save this guy, and it wasn't his fault, right? He's not to blame for this energy like manifesting in him. And like
Dude was angry, but for a good reason,
Yeah.
Well, but Hal doesn't know a lot of this, right? We do as the readers.
No, but Hal has no reason to assume that he's a terrible person. Like,
No.
Yeah.
We've seen before, like the actual Red Rings.
And to be fair, like in Green Lantern Corps, we also had another character who had the yellow energy, and it was very clear. Oh no, wait, you're actually a good person. Like,
yes.
And
the Tamaranian.
Yeah, and that worked out very differently to this, but
yes.
It's kind of interesting.
Well, and all I can think of is with all the knowledge that Hal has of the spectrum, and all of this, we all know that the blue energy calms the red. You know what I mean? So I was almost waiting for a Deus Ex like Machina type thing. We get some blue energy from somewhere, right? The hope or whatever. And then when it doesn't happen, and this guy essentially just explodes from his own rage, and we get these solemn panels, this was the much better ending, much more affecting.
It sells the weight of the current like crisis that they're going through of these energies like overtaking people and what can happen as a result. So that's really cool. When we go back to the others, they've basically got the swapping out the idol with the bag of sand, except Connor just super speeds in and grabs it.
Yeah. So just so I can flex a bit, do you remember or do you know what that idol was in Indiana Jones?
I want to say it was a little like golden like head or
yeah. But do you know what its name was? Have you ever heard this? No, Connor?
Not from memory, no.
No, so that's the Chachapoyan fertility idol. So I just wanted to flex a bit here that I know that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something because it related to what they did here. You just wanted to flex that knowledge irrelevant of the comic book.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, then. Well, we shall...
As they said in the issue, nerd.
Thank you, Connor.
Yeah. And because everything starts to crumble because they've taken the idol... Kyle makes a mine car, so they're doing full Indiana Jones stuff all the way.
It bothered me a little bit that the tracks are there already.
Yeah, don't think about it.
I mean, like they could have just made those green, and that'd be.
Yes.
That's what I mean. If they'd made those green, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder.
Herbert was just like, we're going full Indiana Jones here. I don't care.
I almost wonder, like, is this just like a mistake the colorist made, where the colorist didn't realize the track was also supposed to be the construct?
But yeah, if you look behind them, right,
it goes high up. Yeah.
Far back. So maybe the colorist, but you know,
it's not. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal.
It's not. But it's irritating.
All right. So. I will admit, like I thought the ending to this issue was very predictable, but not in a way that made me mad. Like I knew that they're going to go through all this, they're going to get the artifact, the source orb or whatever you want to call it, and the villains are going to show up and like potentially steal it from them, and that's the cliffhanger, right? What's his name? Starbreaker and Sorrow, the Grey Lantern. They both show up and are like, "Hey, you got this far, it's great." And it kind of like just goes to show maybe they should have waited for Hal. Although, admittedly, I don't know if what Hal being here would have significantly changed, other than just them having more numbers. Yeah,
they'd have more numbers, and I don't know, maybe a lookout too, you know. But also, this is
wild card spirit.
Yeah, but that's all. This it's like in India at the beginning when Balak shows up. Like, there's nothing that you cannot possess that I cannot take away. You know, so...
Do you know what? I hate to admit it, but Matt might be onto something here, that this is another intentional part of the reference, because that's what happens in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So
That's
But
annoying.
yeah, and you got the emo guy standing behind him, looking. That's as scary as he's ever looked because he looks like a ghost.
I don't remember a big emo guy in Indy, but whatever.
No, but you did have Alfred Molina, and he gets speared in there. So,
Yeah, I mean, I really like this issue. I think this new direction for Green Lantern as a whole, via these first two and then the first Green Lantern Corps, have all been very solid, and I've really liked what they've been doing with it. It feels even more confident and refined than anything, even though I really liked the first big saga he did with the the new power battery and all the stuff that was going on with Varys and
I think that it kind of tailed off a little bit as it went
the
on.
ending
It
was not as
started really
strong as the rest of it, but this feels like it's really focused to me so far, and I like how it's including a lot of different characters between the two books. So we get Kyle here as well as Hal, and of course these other non-Lantern characters, and then over in Core we're getting John, Jessica, Baz.
I assume everyone's kind of fair game in that one.
Probably, yeah. There's definitely some who are a bit more prominent in that first issue, but and Connor's not ready yet, so I'm not spoiling the other characters.
But I just mean like going forward, I feel like that's the book where everyone can just kind of get chucked in at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of the charm of it, and the
But I think what I like about it though is it doesn't feel like just like random side stories. What they were doing in Core issue 1 was still very tied to the greater state of Green Lantern right now.
And you don't have to have read that to appreciate what happens here, but if you have the context of the yellow, right, and the stuff that had happened in that issue, to see how kind of fails here, then it makes that seem like much more of an event, not an event, but much more of like a guidepost for the Green Lantern Corps. So yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. I'm very happy with the Green Lantern corner of the universe right now. It's a very polar opposite. It's funny that Jeremy Adams was on Flash before this, because it's very much like Flash has become a bad corner and Green Lantern has become a good corner, but there was a time when it was very much swapped. So hey, all right, and then the art by Herbert, who we've not really mentioned too much yet. I actually think the art in this is quite good.
Yeah, it's more than solid, because the Erasmus stuff and him having the massive hammer that's a projection off of his actual blacksmith hammer. Yeah, I like that too, because that's kind of like not the source of his rage, but what he's funneling it through. Like as a blacksmith, that's what he uses to create. So
I do think the art in that side of it's a little bit better. I think it's just a little bit more focused. I think it's probably just less people to draw on that side of it. Yeah,
but I think the faces are very expressive, both for the fun stuff like Kyle's, like cocky indie things, and then but also the somber stuff that Hal goes through. Like I feel like all those moments do work really well, and the art's a big part of that. So yeah, and naturally the panels with Hal are a bit more straightforward versus like the crazy like Indiana Jones stuff that they're doing with the other characters. But not very so, because it had been Zermanica on this book, and I don't think that Jack Herbert feels like a huge like trade.
I don't know what's going on with the colors. I assume it's the same colorist because it feels very similar.
Yeah, it feels very consistent with what Zermanica was doing before. And given how good Zermanica is, that's a compliment to Herbert.
It is. I don't think it's quite as strong as Zermanica's stuff. I think his Zermanica's just a little bit more dynamic. But Zermanica is like top tier right now, so.
Yes. Always trust Carter to bring the negative spin on it. But yeah, Matt, what are you rating Green Lantern?
I'm giving this 8.5.
Carter?
7.5.
I agree with the 8.5. I think it's very, very good. I really liked it. One of the highlights of my week. All right. Justice League Unlimited issue 4. Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on the art. There's that Dan Mora again popping up. So, yeah, they're dealing with the fires in the rainforest and the fact that they're all going to be destroyed. And part of this issue is that Mr. Terrific, we sort of get a little bit of it at the start, and then it goes back to explain kind of the process of like coming up with this idea. But because it seems like Levi, the Swamp Thing's been taken out, they go to Teffy Holland, Alex's daughter, because she's got a connection to the Green to maybe help. And she's like, I don't want to join the Justice League. Leave me alone.
I'm not a superhero. I'm a person.
Yeah, but ultimately she feels what's happening to the Green and can't help but get involved anyway. So that's fundamentally what a big chunk of this issue is. It's like she takes Aquaman and someone else, I'm not at that page yet, into the Green to try and find Levi so they can like combat this. And they do find him, and we get this whole thing where like the entire Amazon rainforest looks like a big Swamp Thing face, which is kind of a cool thing when he kind of rejuvenates it all and reforestates it all. So, yeah, honestly, this is kind of like one of those issues where I think the things that are happening are fairly solid, and I like this the broad things that it's doing, but it does have that event book feel where there's a lot of characters and we're jumping around a lot. So the pacing and the structure doesn't feel as tight.
I find it very hard to care about much of what's happening in this book at this point. It's not like a terrible book. Let me make that clear. But like, it's I've got no focal point to like get attached to. Like, there's no in of like, oh, this is there's no POV character like to showcase it. There's no real anchor. There's no emotional connection to anything. It's just stuff happening.
I don't know if I agree with that, because the thread, at least of this one, is Mr. Terrific and seeming like he's at his, wit's end with how to handle the Inferno. But he's, and Red Tornado even tells him, like, you go off of data more than you trust people, right? So let the people do what they need to do. That's why we assembled the Justice League Unlimited, and yes, your plan still, let's go with it, but like, stop just blind trusting all the data. Okay. So I do like there's that arc through this.
That's not an arc. That's one page at the start of the issue.
No, because then that carries on through what he's doing, right? Every time it goes back to Mr. Terrific, and there's that countdown there, right?
Yeah, I don't feel like he's doing much there though. He's the man in the chair at that point. He's not adding much to it. It's not like he's strategizing everything from the chair at this point. He's like, he's giving motivational pep talks.
Yeah, because he's learning to trust the people around him. It's not just him,
Yeah, I just felt there's not enough going on with that for me to.
I heard a sigh from Pete.
It doesn't feel like he consciously makes a decision at some point that shows he's learned anything, so I don't think I can agree with that being like an arc in here. I think by the end, maybe because of the outcome, he's realized, oh, like, yes, these people are what saved us. But I don't know if like he has like a direct arc per se. If anything, the emotional connection for me is probably more in the little subplot in the middle, which is Batman going to see Jean, because I care about what's going on with Jean.
I agree. But that feels so separate to everything else in this issue.
Yes, yeah. But I do like there's a few through lines like that. And the ending does also bring up, because the the villain representing Inferno, whoever they are, in the hood, towards the end, he's the one that's trying to fight them, and the Parliament of Trees comes in the Green to help get rid of him. At the end, like, the other person from Inferno is like, hey, you got beat by trees. And they're like, yeah, okay, sure, it didn't go well, but they still have no idea what we're doing, what our motivations are. And the other guy's like, are you sure they don't know what we're doing? And he's like, yeah, we have a man in the inside. So it just kind of reminds you at the end that Airwave there is still there to feed them information. So
also, the Inferno in the Green says to Aquaman, he goes, oh, Aquaman, my old enemy, what can you hope to accomplish here?
That's right. It does tease that someone Aquaman knows.
So it's someone that is familiar enough, and I'm wondering if we'll see something in World's Finest, right? Because that's also the Waid book.
Oh, because we're doing Aquaman stuff in that right now?
Yeah,
Well,
so,
mate. Oh, do you think this is the jealous husband of the other clan?
I don't think so. It says more of his beef was with Superman there. But I'm wondering, like, I don't think he would necessarily run back Woodrow, but it's definitely, I feel like, something that we're going to see.
I tell you what, that World's Finest arc will be redeemed so much if we get a one-shot at some point where that jealous husband shows up to try and seduce Lois in, like, present day because Superman kissed his wife. Oh my god.
It's like a reverse Little Mermaid. It's like Little Mermaid for wrong. But yeah, that got me on that one, because I was like, oh, who could this be? And it's, they're in the Green, yet he doesn't seem to have any, no major effect there. So like when the Parliament goes and kicks him out, and with Aquaman's help, So yeah, it's adding to the mystery of who Inferno is and what exactly they want to do.
I mean, what they want to do, I'm not sure about, but my assumption is that all of these hooded figures, I assume there's going to be a whole team of them, and that it's effectively another Injustice or Legion of Doom kind of like team of like villains who have teamed up. And maybe one is more familiar with Aquaman, but another one will be more familiar with whoever else. That would be my assumption at this point, based on that tease. But I mean, who knows what they'll end up doing? Yeah, I mean, obviously the art's very pretty. I mean, that's again, Dan Mora doing a lot of interesting stuff.
Yes.
So
I think at points there might be a little bit too much going on in this issue, art-wise.
I think that's fair.
Especially with the very vibrant colors, I think sometimes it's just a little bit busy on your eyes.
I think probably the biggest critique I would give the book is kind of like what Connor was saying to begin with, is there's a lot going on, and it does feel like a lot of big just event action. I do think there's more weight to it, and there's more of like a through line in the background that he's clearly building to, compared to World's Finest, where I just do feel like it's a lot of action at times. But I definitely did take a minute to remember what the hell they were even doing at the start of this issue. And I was like, that's usually a sign that maybe the story isn't like on point or isn't like super memorable yet. Like, are Inferno a memorable threat where I'm like, oh, who is Inferno? No, I forgot Inferno existed in the last month. I had to be reminded that Inferno's a thing. So, they
lack the object permanence.
Yeah. But no, I am digging the ongoing thing with Jean, though, and I hope there's more like character through lines like that for some different characters.
That's probably the strongest stuff that's happened in this entire book so far. That arc that's been going on.
Yeah, and it may be cool when he makes his big return, perhaps, if that's going to be a big moment soon.
Yeah. I also, for a second, thought he really just killed Levi, and I was like, wait, no, you can't kill a Ram V character like that. What are you doing? And then so for them to go out of their way to be like, oh no, he just kind of receded further into the green because of everything that was happening, and I was like, okay, cool, because I like Levi. I want to see more of him.
He's in a pod. He's strengthening up. He's going to be fine.
Yes.
He'll be back.
Yeah, that was good. Also, another little thing on Martian Manhunter is just the idea that because he's so used to his telepathy to like sort of navigate through the world, that like Batman compares it to like one of us going blind and deaf at the same time and not be able to like know how to handle the world anymore, and that's part of what's going on with him.
Yeah, that's pretty good too. I like that. And Batman to be the voice of reason like that for Jean, I like too. So I can't remember a lot of stories where they interact like this. So to see that coming from Bruce, because that's more of a Superman or Wonder Woman kind of deal, right? Like they're the communicators that go do this. So for it coming from Bruce, I thought there was a real fun spin on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like the whole bit where he says, oh, hey, you're the constant thing in the Justice League. You are the Justice League. And to be fair, that's like, I think what most of us think of as Martian Manhunter is he's the guy that puts the team together. He's the guy that...
It's kind of what a big complaint with New 52 was that they shunted Martian Manhunter off to the side and gave him his Stormwatch stuff.
That was his thing. Yeah, he was like, not so much the comic book version, but he's kind of like to like the Justice League what the movie version Nick Fury was to the Avengers, but as an active member of the team kind of thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
And he's kind of the heart of like bringing them together. So it's nice to hear that kind of acknowledged here, especially since this is a Justice League book after all.
He's in a lot of ways, I think he is actually pretty comparable to Iron Man in 2008, where Iron Man was not an A-lister, but like became like the cornerstone of that Avengers team, that whole like phase built off that success. I think Martian Manhunter in a lot of ways is pretty comparable to that, even if it's a slightly different role. Yeah,
I mean, it feels hard to believe that he'll ever get that change like Iron Man did, where he'll get a movie and all of a sudden he's an A-lister.
Yeah,
but
it's very unlikely. But I mean, I imagine 20 years ago people would have told you the same thing about Iron Man.
That is true.
But there's always been Demon in the Bottle, right? There's always been these big stories. Can you point to a story that would make, outside the origin of Manhunter, right, where he gets beamed over, Doctor has the heart attack or whatever? I don't know if there's that many Martian Manhunter stories that
no solo stories, no, but I think he's in a lot of Avengers stories.
Yeah.
Justice League
stories, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I always think of him as the character who's there in Justice League, as the one who's like, he doesn't have his own solo adventures per se in his own comic books, but he's always there to bring the team together.
Just wait till that Absolute book. That'll.
That's true.
That might be the one.
I'm so excited for that.
We'll see. But all right, Justice League Unlimited, Matt. What are you giving it?
I'm gonna 7.5.
I'm
Connor.
gonna give it a 6. It's okay.
I'm happy to give it a 7. I'm enjoying it, but it is definitely I don't want to say more fluffy. I don't think that's quite the right word, but it's like all the big action stuff going on does feel a little bit like just generic comic book action, but there is some underlying stuff that I really like.
So I just remembered the Inferno set Dr. Occult on fire and threw him back into the fire.
That's right.
Is he okay? Because I saw Superman take him away.
I hate to be mean, but how many people care about Dr. Occult?
No, I just, it was funny that it wasn't enough that they just threw him back into the fire unconscious. The man was on fire.
Yes.
He's his own kindling, but yeah.
All right. Black Canary, Best of the Best, issue 4. Tom King writing with Ryan Sook on the art. So, round 4. And this issue does some flashback. I love how Carr just leaves immediately. He's like, I'm not even going to listen to this.
Also, I just want to say, too, I was going to ask Connor, I was going to go for the joke. I'm like, Connor, what'd you think? And then he walked away before he could. So
yeah.
I will say that I did what you kind of suggested a couple issues ago, where you don't have to read everything the announcers are saying. And if you just really focus on the flashback story and the stuff that's going on around that, and just kind of look at the action of what's going on, it kind of improves the quality of the book.
Yeah, I mean, I still read most of the thing, but
when I say I didn't read it, I skimmed a lot of it to make sure, what was going on. But yeah,
make sure there was nothing important being slipped in there. Yeah, I mean, this does the sort of thing where it's like where Dinah and Ollie first met, and like she keeps beating him up.
Yeah.
Like he thinks that she's like another trainee of Ted Grant, but she's actually the trainer. And Ted Grant is on his way to the hospital after what Shiva did to him last issue. And I think what I liked about this is that they basically say that Black Canary's so pissed off that now she starts just like annihilating Shiva to the point where it seems like she breaks her arm, like, and she makes her scream, and we get that glorious red panel of her crying out. So I don't know,
very Pentagon of Dinah. Bringing back the Sacrificio.
Yeah, evil short. And then the other sort of flashback subplot is her being out for drinks with her mother, and they're taking shots and stuff like that, and Dinah's getting drunk, her mum's getting a bit drunk. And the joke at the end of the issue with this is that when they stumble out of the bar, she gets tackled by someone, and then her mum's like, "Oh no, I forgot this was a test," and it's like Ted Grant's there to tackle her.
Because Dinah keeps going, "I'm not drinking anymore because I know this is a test," and her mom's like, "No, you need to relax. Why would I do that to you?"
But then her mum gets so drunk that she forgets that it was a test.
And then just the realization is like, "Oh yeah, this was a test."
Yeah,
real funny.
That's good. Also, Dinah in the fight does the Bane backbreaker. And
down to Sook just using the same exact what would it say, because he's not copying it exactly.
No, but like the way she lifts her up so that she's like facing up the way is just like Bane holding up Batman, and then the way she brings her down on her knee. Yeah, it's very similar.
It's that famous panel that we said, that we're used to seeing.
Honestly, my favorite part of the issue, though, bizarrely, is probably the 2 pages of like during the Ollie like subplot, where it's actually just Dinah's phone as she's texting her mum backwards and forwards. Yeah. And her mum's like, "Oh, so you like this boy then? So you're gonna get married?" And she's like saying no. But then by the end of the text, she's like, "Hey, tell him he's your boyfriend now." And then she does that in like one of the following scenes, and it's oddly kind of sweet. And also, her mum's got a dirty mind.
Yes.
Because Dinah says, "I like how he gets up," and then she's like, "Oh, no, off the mat, mom."
Yes.
You dirty
from the mat. She even says JFC, which again, the texting lingo here.
So yeah, it's always this weird thing with this moving timeline where now we're doing like when Dinah and Ollie first met and smartphones already exist, and I'm like, this is weird.
But it looks like a Motorola Razr, and I always say that because I had one of those.
okay, so you're saying this is like a late 2000s style?
Yeah, because you can see that it's a flip phone still,
That's
right?
true.
When
That's true.
Dinah's holding it, and to the screen, and that's what the only reason I bring it up is that's what my Razor screen looked like. You know, it was the same kind of dimensions. So, yeah, the sliding scale will never not. It was just like in Titan's year one, right? You know, them using social media and stuff. It's weird.
Yeah. So, yeah, the big thing towards the end is that Shiva's actually going to surrender. Like, she's almost muttering out the phrase "I surrender," but then Dinah punches her before she can finish it, so the fight keeps going.
Yeah. Because we find out that, you know, after Dinah disposes of Ted, right, for the test, her mom's like, no, you have to win. Like, whatever you have to do, you're not going to go out there and embarrass me by losing. I know you're capable of it.
But here's the thing, though. She could have just won right there and then, and she kept the fight going. So it's like, okay, like, they're still playing masterfully with this. Okay, what is Dinah's actual intentions in the fight itself?
Yeah.
You know, there's just, I have so many like questions because there's so many like different possibilities they've given us by this point with all these flashbacks.
It feels kind of like Ocean's 11 in that way, where you think that you have everything figured out, and then they drop another twist on you, and you're just like, oh, I didn't even consider that. You know, so you know she's still trying to make it to the 6th round, right? Because that's what Dana says. She's got to make it through the 6th.
Yeah,
and, you know, 6 issues and whatever. So
I probably like this more than the last issue, actually. I would say, even though I don't think it quite has the gut punch of a reveal at the end, like issues 1 and 2 both had. But yeah, but this is probably the issue where I like the fight the most, though, and the actual ring.
Well, it's the comeback, right? Like you used to watch wrestling a lot. You know, it's that part where the baby face is getting beaten down, and now they get to return fire and fire up the crowd. You know, so it plays with that, you know, psychology and expectation, and I think King does a very good job here at playing with our expectations. Like, when I didn't think she was going to break Shiva's arm, right? So then when she goes and does it, you're like, oh man, no, she's really in this fight. Like, has she been laying down on her punches the whole time?
Yeah, and
right? Could have she ended this early if she wanted to?
The commentators have the cheek to say this is just sheer luck. Like the fact that Dinah's now winning is just sheer luck. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. I hope she like comes out and punches you too for saying that. How dare you?
Well, they kind of tease that too. They're like, oh, don't let her hear you say that, you know. But and I'm also a sucker for early Ollie and Dinah, and I think this is handled really well because it makes Ollie look like kind of like a dork because he's just constantly getting knocked down.
Oh, and he's an asshole at first. Like the way he acts when he sees, oh, we're training with a woman. Oh, this is a waste of time. I'm paying you, Ted.
A lady. Yeah. And just the fact that Ted's like, no, she's the trainer, you know? So, but yeah, I was like, just the way that the layouts come on that page where it's got Ollie with the boxing gloves up and then them fighting and you get the pows and the slams on the white background. You know, it almost looks like one of those scenes with a bunch of the smash cuts together of Ollie just getting his butt whooped the whole time.
Yeah. And it's a lot of negative space as well on that page, which is very different to the rest of the book, which is all very panel based.
Yeah. Sook is really working still. Like all the fight stuff here, a lot of the progressions of it. You never really get lost or forget the fight that's going on. You know, like the main fight. So when you come back to it after these breaks, you pick right back where you were leaving off on. So you know, it's good.
And then just Dinah's line, and you're my boyfriend now, I guess. He's like, okay, yeah, let's do that. That sounds good. So no, I think it's very good. The art's phenomenal. Really enjoyable like beats and scenes. The only thing that's going to hold it down a little bit compared to those first 2 issues, which I raved about and gave like top scores to, is that I just don't think it has quite the same through line with an ending that those 2 issues did. That was basically like top tier. Like we rated those 2 issues very very high. Whereas this is still a great issue, but it just doesn't quite hit that level. So, all right, Matt, what are you giving Black Canary?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go straight 8 on this one, but really good stuff. So cool. Batman: The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, issue 5. Jeph Loeb writing with Bill Sienkiewicz on the art.
Or Sienkiewicz. Do we know which one it is?
Not a clue. I sounded confident and went for it.
I think it's a V. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I will say, obviously, like what you could say about the art changing with each issue because of just, you know, that's how they've been doing this. Whatever you think of that's what what it is, but I kind of like the art in this issue. I thought the mood and the tone of it really added to the vibes for me.
So I love the mood and the tone. Some of Sienkiewicz's Joker and Batman at the beginning, and I feel he's kind of going for more ethereal because it doesn't look like this for the whole rest. I was kind of worried. I was like, oh man, I know Sienkiewicz is like a living legend. He's done stuff through the 70s, 80s, whatever. And I was like, oh, maybe he doesn't have it, right? And then when we get to what's the exact turn here with Gordon and his wife, I was like, oh, okay, this is what I more associate with Sienkiewicz.
Yeah.
So again, I think it was just a stylistic choice here. But yeah, I was a bit worried at the beginning.
Yeah, I was kind of into that stuff at the start, if I'm honest.
I'm really mixed because I think the art is fantastic. I think it's probably the issue I like the least out of the whole book, though, but not because of the art.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously this one focuses a lot on Gordon's marriage breaking down. Him coming home late and his wife being like, hey, you always pick the city over me. I keep thinking about leaving and going back to Chicago and leaving you. And then she finally does, the next time. And we get that like sad panel of him sitting there at the New Year's like decorations around him, like he didn't come home for New Year's.
in complete darkness.
Yeah. And it's all really sad. So the idea is that Batman is still like recuperating for a couple of months. So we end up in Valentine's Day for the rest of the issue. But so part of the story here is that Joker is actually going around and capturing a lot of the villains who left Arkham. And that Robin allowing Calendar Man to get out, which led to a prison break, actually ruined the plans of whoever the killer is right now, who seems to want everyone in Arkham. And there is, they're openly talking about why is he not killing people this time, this holiday killer? Why is it all just wounding, except for a couple of key exceptions, which happens later in this issue. Clearly, he wants certain people alive for whatever reason. So, yeah, and we also have Batman get after Scarecrow, who's also out and about, who I also thought looked cool in this art style. So, yeah, just some really fun stuff, I thought. And then the big set piece being that the feds are getting involved in all this, and Joker, deals with them. In fact, Joker, the running theme in this issue is that Joker's got like a little bit of everyone's like stuff. He's got Mad Hatter's hat, he's got the Riddler's staff, he's got Mr. Freeze's gun, and he's using it all over the place. And it's funny because the art style, of course, here is definitely and I mean this in the best way, but it's a sort of messy style, right? That's kind of
it's very scratchy, like
and that's Sienkiewicz's style, right? That's
Always
what I meant by it got more into that style, the less of the dreamy where there was odd angles, and it got more sketchy.
But that page where the holiday killer's gun comes out in the red and then the car like skids and flips, I thought that page was phenomenal. And it was like, even in this kind of messy style, it's very clear and like concise with the action, so that I was always invested in what was happening.
Kind of why he's regarded so highly, that you could have such a scratchy, messy style, yet everything is always still clear as to what's happening.
Yeah, because it makes it feel more gritty, right? And along those lines.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then Joker, when Batman grabs him at the scene of the crime, because he's just arrived from the Scarecrow stuff, Joker pulls out some Scarecrow like straw that has the Scarecrow toxin in it, and he snaps it. So Batman ends up having this weird like new version of his like origin, where him and Catwoman are the one taking Robin to the Marquis Zorro. And I actually quite like this, because as much as we always sort of go on about Batman seeing his parents' death again in this, a big part of this book is him worrying about Robin and this idea that he's now taking care of Robin. So the idea that he sees himself as the one who's going to leave him behind made a lot of sense to me as a fear,
It's also one of the few things that you can get away with showing these events, even if it's the original events, is fear toxin, right?
Yeah. Also, I didn't get nearly as upset with the pearls because they weren't broken and falling. It looks like Catwoman's just wearing them normal. Yeah. So we're okay.
Yeah. Well, the implication here is that Robin's the one that's actually killed instead of the parents in this case as well. So
yeah, I like that it shows it as just like that little drawing in the red with the X'd out eyes.
Yeah.
Like a child's drawing almost.
Yeah, because it really pops out as well, because everything else is just muted like blue or muted
blues and grays. Yeah,
and it's red.
Yeah. So no, I think that stuff is really cool. And then like this is the Batman that's got the pointy like sort of shoulder like cape kind of thing and all that, and that stuff looks all really great. So yeah, they're not really sure like what happened here, who took the guy they were transporting, and it's like, oh, maybe it was poison ivy because there's some leaves kind of like, leading to this place. But yeah, Joker's put back in his cell, and they're kind of saying, okay, like whoever's doing this knows stuff about all these villains and how we're reacting to it. Who's doing this? Who knows this much? And Batman posits the question, where's Harvey Dent? And this is something the book's been really holding back, is we've been getting these teases of Harvey and Gilda in the sewers, and there's something going on there. And then this last couple of pages gives us the next piece of that puzzle, which is, and at this point, I'm almost thinking all this stuff with Harvey and Gilda is all set before the rest of the story. And like, it is Harvey and Gilda, or one of them behind everything later on. But, yeah, basically she's saying to the doctor, or the doctor's saying to her, like, he might not know who you are. His med's in a messed up place. And yeah, the ending of the book is she walks in and Two-Face is standing there and he says, Mrs. Dent, what are you doing here? Which would imply to me that he is only the Two-Face persona. Like, the original Harvey Dent persona is just gone. Maybe not for good, but certainly isn't there right now.
Right.
It's a bit more traditional Two-Face with the buried personas in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just that image too, how he's up in the shadows, right, with Grundy behind him, and just he doesn't look like how I remember him. Oh,
and I didn't even notice this until now, but there's a lot of those holiday
guns.
Pistols in the background.
Yeah,
the Lugers or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm. It's a 22. I know that much. That's what they keep saying.
Yeah, they keep saying that.
Yeah, but yeah, just he looks. It's almost like a twisted James Bond too, right? Because of the suit.
Sure.
Half face and whatever. But yeah,
don't tell Amazon that.
Yeah, don't. Well. But yeah, it's almost like we're seeing him for the first time.
Yeah,
which is a nice touch.
Yeah, no, I'm into that. And yeah, if it is just Two-Face doing all this stuff, but he's not killing the villains, he's just shooting them. But because as they say, this is effectively putting them back in Arkham because they're surviving. Once they get picked up by the authorities, off to Arkham they go. So what is Two-Face planning? That he wants all the villains, all the Rose Gallery of Gotham, all in Arkham at the same time.
Yeah. What if it's Harvey playing Two-Face playing Harvey? He's putting them all in there to take them all out because it's the prosecutor, right?
I think you're overthinking it.
That's a lot of layers.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go
like an onion.
That. I feel like he's got an end game in mind, whatever that may be.
Yeah. Also, did you find it weird for the Joker to reference McDonald's?
It stuck out, but I feel like it's stuff that the Joker used to do in like the 80s.
Yeah.
Like make like references to stuff like that, but just doesn't anymore.
I think it used to be more common, yeah. I think at this point McDonald's it's a little bit different when it's something that feels fresh and new, but McDonald's is such an old thing now that I guess it's past that period of not feeling weird.
I'm so used to them subbing like Big Belly Burger or any of the normal, right? That it did stick out, but it was so funny just because he's like, come get a Mr. Freeze, Tasty Freeze or whatever, as he's firing it at the cops. But yeah, I was like, McDonald's, whoa. In a DC book? What are we doing? It just took me by surprise.
It took me out as well, but also, like I said, I let it slide. But it did feel weird at first.
I mean, all the real cities exist across all the, as well as the fictional cities, so why wouldn't all the real fast food places also exist alongside?
They just don't have a presence in Gotham.
Yeah.
Just absolutely. The insurance is too high in Gotham.
Yeah, it probably is.
You
have to drive to Bloodhaven to get a McDonald's.
Yeah, but it's also a clown referencing a clown too, right? Ronald McDonald and it's Joker too, so it kind of works on that. But yeah, it took me out for a hot second, not too much.
Yeah, there's a few little things like that just like caught me in this. There's like little pacing things as well. There's a bit earlier on where it's as Batman calls out Robin for the crack in the glass in Arkham, and like in the first panel where they start the conversation, Batman's like looking over a microscope. And the second panel, they're like training, like sparring. He's like, harder, hit me harder, and like. But the conversation feels like all at once. It doesn't feel like there's a natural... I think there's supposed to be a jump between the two.
I think so.
But the way the conversation flows, it feels like one long conversation. I mean,
I've seen movies do that, though, where they'll do that thing where time is jumping, but the conversation just runs through the scene.
Yeah, but I think usually when you do it, part of it here is the color is so it feels like they're in the same location, they're in the same moment. Like it's both got that blue background. They're both heavily shadowed. Like it feels like the same moment. but I don't think it's supposed to be. At least usually when you do this, you change the background, you change something to show that it's moved. At the same in movies when they do that, like there's a cut to make it clear. Here, it just feels like the next panel. Like it's just a little bit weird.
Yeah, yeah. I think I like this issue more than last issue. I think I like all the stuff with the car and the implications towards the end, and I really like the art. So, I'm feeling fairly good about it. It's definitely, it's not perfect, but I've been saying since the start, there's something about this, Long Halloween like universe and the vibe of it, and maybe it's just because of nostalgia, because it's one of the first Bat stories most people read, that it just feels really comforting to be back in.
Although sometimes I feel like we're spinning wheels because it has to be 12 issues to match the holidays.
Oh, but it isn't though.
Right.
This is only 10 issues.
Right. That's right.
It still feels like it's
sometimes
the pacing. Not this specific issue, but the pacing of the series feels a bit off right now.
Yeah. I mean, we're halfway through now, so we'll see.
Yeah.
How it pans out.
Look, I'm gonna be real. I forgot it was only 10 issues, so.
But it does feel like we're just stuck in the middle, kind of waiting for the next inciting incident, waiting for the next act.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What are you giving it, Matt?
7.5.
Connor?
I'm going to give it a 6. It's for the first issue I wasn't so hot on, but I've been surprisingly into the rest of the book before this, though.
Yeah, I think I like it a bit more than the last issue. I'm going to go with... I am happy to give this an 8. I was pretty into it. So, I mean, that's not me saying that I am excited for Jeph Loeb's Hush 2, necessarily, but Long Halloween was always better than Hush, so we'll see if Hush 2 is comparable with the same gap to last Halloween. All right. Metamorpho, the Element Man, issue 3, Al Ewing writing with Steve Lieber on the art. Now, Matt read this. I don't know if Connor also read it.
No, I hard outed halfway through issue 2. I felt like
you didn't like the Mad Mod and all the pop star stuff. I figured it would be right up your alley.
Nope. I liked the first issue well enough, but I didn't love it. And halfway through the second issue, I just felt like this was the Fraction Lieber Jimmy Olsen book, but just nowhere near as good. And I was just like, I'm not into this anymore.
And this vibe still goes on because there's an overarching story, but there's also each issue is its own story. So this picks up where the last one left off, where Rex is upset that Sapphire was in on the whole pop star shenanigans, and he's breaking up with her because he feels like she sided with the dad. Simon Stagg is happy because Metamorpho now is no longer he's still going to use him as like a hero, as a muscle for hire, but he's no longer with his daughter. So that's fine. And Urania is trying to make moves on Java, the caveman. So we get a bit of the origin of Metamorpho here, and that the whole reason that he ended up becoming Metamorpho is that Java hit him with the rock, which kick-started like a sacrifice ritual, which unleashed the power of the Orb of Ra, which, now we have him as Metamorpho. And that Cyclops has found not Cyclops, Shade has found a temple in Mexico, I believe, that should not be there. It does not make sense why it's there. So they're going to send Metamorpho, Java, and Urania to go check it out. That's not the full story. Again, a lot happens here. But Urania had put a tracker in a sandwich that was marked for Simon Stagg, and the Mad Mod had taken it. And so they've tracked him to this temple that shouldn't be. So as soon as they get there, there's this big face on the side, like an Olmec head, but there's a beard on it, and it doesn't match Olmec art style. And they realize that it is the face of the Gotham Police Commissioner, Vandal Savage. So this issue also lets me know that this is actually in continuity, right? Because Savage is still the commissioner over there. And that he has built a lot of these temples across the globe as his time has spent on Earth. And that he has a bit of a history with Java, and that Java was essentially the leader of his group of cavemen and were a constant thorn in Vandal Savage's side. So there's a whole bunch of shenanigans where Savage wants to talk to Java and essentially appeal to the caveman in him, and that, you know, Simon Stagg will never respect him because he'll always just be the caveman. And that this is what happens to people, right, that work with Stagg that don't go along with things. And he has the Mad Mod, and he's tied up like, you know, a spit roast pig with an apple in his mouth. And, you know, he's going to serve him up as dinner because, you know, Vandal Savage has had a history of cannibalism. And Java's like, well, you know, I'm not anything alike. I've stood against you before. You just don't understand why I'm doing this. It's like, I love Sapphire. And it's not even about Simon Stagg. It's not about Metamorpho. I do it all for her. Because one day she'll see me as, you know, not just Java the caveman, but Java the person. While they're having this conversation, Urania and Metamorpho don Indiana Jones gear. Like, again, this is the second book this week that plays on the fedora and jacket trope, right? And, you know, Lieber does this, you know, fun Jimmy Olsen-like art thing here where they're trying to get into the temple, but there's a lot of false entrances and exits. And so you kind of follow them along like a maze through this temple. And first they try the front door and it's a dead end. So then they try to find the back door and they get a little bit further, but they get lost. So they go back the way they came to find this crack through the bottom that they take a gas worm. And that eventually is what leads them into conflict with Java and Vandal Savage. They drop right on top of them. Java ends up being able to save the day. And he's like, you know what? He's right. I am just a caveman. And he starts strangling Vandal Savage. And they're trying to stop him. They're like, no, don't give in to the bad urges. You're more than this. You're, you know, we like you, Java. Even Rex is saying this. He's like, who would I be without you? You know, we have like a friendly rivalry. And he ends up ripping Vandal Savage's head off in confusion. And it was a robot. So this whole time, Vandal Savage has used this as, you know, a distraction for whatever else Cyclops is doing. The head blows up and the temple starts coming down around him. So of course they grab Mad Mod. Metamorpho takes the form of like, what were those things in Ninja Turtles that would drill them to the Technodrome? You know,
drill them to the Technodrome?
Yeah, so they were the
I know what you're about.
To and from. They had the big spiral drill on the front. I forget the name of those. Yeah. But that's what he takes the form of. And they drill themselves out of this this temple as it's coming down. But they start getting word from Simon Stagg now because they're out of the temple and they have reception again. And like it looks like there's an earthquake going on wherever the headquarters is. And Metamorpho tells Simon, stay where you are, we'll be right back. And the building has grown arms and legs and is crushing the other buildings around like a kaiju. And so it ends with this cliffhanger of, you know, the HQ that walked like a man. So yeah, book still stays weird. I get why Connor noped out because Al Ewing loves to write in this old style where there's just too much going on. But there's enough of a sense of humor in Lieber's art to keep me, you know, curious to where this is going. Still haven't figured it out. I don't know what Vandal Savage is doing with Cyclops, why he had a robot, you know, or why the building now is walking around. But yeah, so, you know, I'll come back for the next issue. If we're rating it, again, it's not technically bad. It's just, it's different. So I'll give this a 6.5. Art's fantastic, though.
Okay. All right. That takes on to Green Lantern Dark, issue 3, Tate Brombal writing with Werther Dell'Edera on art. So, yeah, Lynette, is that the girl's name? She got taken by the monster, or the monster's people last issue. and this issue is effectively our Green Lantern deciding or having to go after and try and save her. I thought this was a pretty interesting one. One, because obviously the art's still very cool and the overall vibe of this is nice and like kind of horror movie-esque.
Especially early on, there's like two distinct styles of art going on.
Yeah.
Like you've got all the stuff in the soft purples, which is a lot more sketchy. It's a lot more roughs. First draft, and then you've got the other, the other stuff with the green side of the story that's a lot more detailed and like, it's really scratchy in comparison.
Yeah. So it's this idea of you get into the castle and someone else says, hey, if you see my son in there, dead or alive, please like return them, kind of thing. So yeah, she's like, and we get a lot of quiet panels of her basically just walking through these halls and up the stairs and her lantern lighting the way, and it's all very moody, and she's like walking past like suits of armor, notably one of which has a bat logo on the chest.
Yep.
So like it's like, okay, what's going on here exactly? And she eventually finds like this corpse sitting on like a throne, and it's just all this super eerie, spooky stuff, and she's looking out for the kid. And it eventually finds a kid, possibly the son that the other mother was asking about, Isaac, and he's got like blood all over his face, and he does speak, but he also kind of like screams in the kind of like a sort of shriek way, as if he's like, getting ready to be violent or something.
This was straight out of a Japanese horror movie.
Yeah.
Creepy kid, blood on their face, screaming, and I was like, no. So yeah, very, very, very good pacing here.
Yeah, and then she sort of sees that those other kids, and they're all eating some big animal, right, with their bare hands, and that's why there's
a horse or something.
Yeah, and they got blood all over them. And that's when you hear Green Lantern and Lynette's there, and she's still pretty normal. She's not like turned into one of these kids yet. But interestingly, she starts saying a couple of interesting things, and we very quickly see this monster that appears sort of above the
bat
building.
Demon.
Yeah, best way to say it. Yeah.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the cat bus in My Neighbor Totoro, but like twisted into like a demonic form.
Yeah, I can see that with the mouth.
I also, it looks like one of the hellhounds from Ghostbusters.
Yeah. So, yeah, and basically, the Green Lantern's like, hey, well, I need to fight this thing off. And Lynette's kind of like, no. Like, Lynette's almost trying to talk to the monster and say, no, like, Green Lantern's my friend. And she's basically saying, hey, this monster, it's just one monster, and also it's, like, not doing, like, it's kind of protecting us. Like, it thinks it's doing the right thing in some way.
It's feeding the kids.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, what's going on here? So she kind of like does like fight, and there's like a great couple of panels here when she sort of blasts it, and like she gets kind of like knocked back, and she's sort of skidding across the floor. I thought that was a great panel.
Well, there's that, and then to go from all the purple with a little bit of green to all green on the next page.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good balance here.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And then so the monster's like fighting her, and it's she's getting like wrapped up in whatever tentacles, and then eventually one of these knights kind of like jumps out with a flaming sword, very Azrael almost in the sort of overall aesthetic, and makes a big speech about how you're the Green Lantern, you're supposed to do this or that, and then almost immediately this knight gets wiped out, and all the armor, like it gets hit, and all the armor just sort of falls to the ground, and she's like, "What? Is that it? After that big?" But then immediately another knight comes in, and you almost get this vibe that these suits of armor are coming in one by one, and they're just kind of like possessed by whatever this person or force is that's trying to help or interact. And we end up finding out they're the Bat Wraith a little bit later. There's the title. And there's like a human name as well. It was like
Sir William.
William Walwyn, which I can see how that could become Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you guys familiar with the Tangent Universe Batman at all?
I am not. So I'm assuming you're going to tell us something here.
Yeah. Connor, are you?
No, because I am.
Because it's straight out of Arthurian legend. So Sir William was one of the Table Knights, and he was sent to go investigate Morgan Le Fay, where he was seduced and turned on Arthur. So even though they stopped her plot, he was still held accountable, right? Because he turned. So now he was sent to live in this castle and essentially never go on another, mission again. So he's been stuck in this castle since the Arthurian days. So I don't know if he has become the Bat Wraith here in this version, right? Because this is still kind of the Tangent Universe, but not fully. But but yeah, it definitely seems like they're playing with this whole spirit of Batman. He can never leave the castle until he's atoned for what he had done. Right? So that's what it feels very much like here is they came to the castle.
The atonement.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like Hotel California.
You can check in but never leave, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, of course I had to find out about this, version.
Obviously.
Yes. So there we go.
Yeah. So yeah. The Bat-Wraith gives her a bit of a pep talk and says, "Hey, you're the Green Lantern. You've got way more power than you actually are even harnessing here. You should be able to save the day and do this. Like, all you need is willpower." And then she has this great little moment where she's like, "Oh, how did I tap into my willpower last time?" And then that's when Lynette steps in and tries to tell the monster to leave her alone. And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's right. It was you. You inspired my willpower." And then kind of has her big moment where she blasts with tons of green energy to burn out whatever's doing this. And then we see at the center of this beast there is it's still somewhat beast-like in that there's teeth and whatnot, but it's a much more human figure who's in the center of all this. And this was maybe the heart of the beast that was trying to help the kids. And obviously when we get to the main, I assume the main villain of the whole thing in the last couple of pages, she does refer to it or him as a beast boy. So
because during this fight at first I was like, they said there was only one monster, but there's a few different appearances happening here.
Yep.
Yes.
Because by the end it looks almost like a wolf as opposed to a bat near the start, and there's a bit where it looks more like a hamster.
Yeah,
so I was very confused at first.
And they talked about those Eclipso seeds or whatever at the beginning warping people, but not fully. It didn't necessarily make them evil. It just changed them. And yeah, some of the creatures started to do bad things, but that's not all of them. So if this is this version of Beast Boy, right? It kind of took control over him, but that the goodness of him shone through. And I like where Lunette had said, "See, we told you he's a good monster."
Yeah. So I definitely did think, oh, is this a Beast Boy type thing? And then the villain talking about how that Green Witch is messing everything up. She took away my favorite little Beast Boy. I was like, okay, yeah. So they're clearly hinting that's kind of effectively what he is.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the ending kind of teases her thing, and that she's oh, that Green Witch is going through hell and doing all this stuff and whatever.
And it was just me, but in the very last panel when she's the celestial worm comes.
Yes.
Felt very Rita Repulsa.
I can see it. I mean, it was hard not for me to think of Dune a little bit, because you see this image of a giant worm breaking out of both sides of the planet, and I was like, oh, that's very. I mean, it's even bigger than the worms in Dune technically, because this is
Well, it was giving me the Conqueror worm from Hellboy, right?
Sure, yeah.
Which
is probably a better comparison, because it does feel like a sort of hell apocalypse type thing.
Yeah,
that she's talking about
cracking the world in two in this vision.
So yeah, clearly this, obviously, I think when this character was first teased before, me and Matt were saying, oh, well, she's a redhead and there's lots of plant life, so we.
It wants you to think poison ivy, but that feels too obvious.
It does. So I don't know where we're going exactly with this character, but I do like though that when we cut to her, there's a very different art coloring than the rest of the book. It's all of a sudden there's just all these bright colors, and nothing in the rest of the book has. I mean, this was the green's bright, I guess, but it's just the green.
Oh, but that's harsh. This is soft light. This is very natural light.
Yeah. So very, very, very interesting.
Also, there's stuff coming out of Grundy, right? Like the leaves and whatever.
Yes.
It's almost like it's reforming him as they talk too. And then there's that Todd character that is, the Todd, your queen thanks you for your pain and misery. So there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah. No, I think this stuff at the end and the few teasers we've had of it are perfectly fine. But for me, the meat of the book, and it is the majority of the book, so it should be the best part, but it is the vibe and the atmosphere of it, just the general sense of it's a dark world where this little bit of hope's coming in, and the main character being this cynical jaded person who doesn't really think she can do it, but this kid inspires her. That's been a real heart to this book since issue 1, and it's just, I think it's just good writing mixed with the good art is just really selling the entire idea of it. So Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
This came out of nowhere. This book when it hit, and I mean I don't really know anything about the Tangent universe, and I forget that it's even connected to anything else that has ever
Mhm.
happened.
It just feels like its own standalone little
Yeah.
thing right now.
Just every so
Yeah.
often Matt brings it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's a thing that this kind of comes from.
Well, it just feels like the Brombal is just playing with those concepts and using what they need, right? So like the whole idea of the Batman of Tangent universe being this ghost that can use these suits of armor, right, to do what it needs to do. That's what happens here, and there's nothing more. There's not more mythology that goes with it, right? And the same with using the Green Lantern, where it was this person that can contact through the dead, but here we're seeing it's more like a Green Lantern that we're familiar with. You know, it's not just like the Ferryman of the Dead or whatever. So yeah, it is. It's still its own universe, but I do like that it's playing with these concepts of the Tangent universe, and it can lead me to some research to find out more about these characters, which I'm always a fan of.
Yeah, no, I'm digging it. So all right, Matt, what you giving it?
I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
Connor?
Oh, I'm going with 8 as well. Yeah.
I find it hard to disagree, to be honest. So I'm also going to give it a straight 8 out of 10. So that is Green Lantern Dark. Which does lead to one final thing, which is a Patreon book every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. If you want to support the show at one of the higher tiers, you can make me read a book of your choosing. Today I'm going to talk about Planetary issue 6, and this has been a really interesting run to go through. And this was another one that just introduced some really fascinating kind of ideas. So this issue is about basically the secret space program. So the public thing was the Apollo missions, but there was a secret one that already made it to the moon in 1961 or 62, or at least tried to go to the moon in 1961 or 62. The Artemis missions, and it goes in a little bit. It talks a little bit about people from Nazi Germany who were good scientists being brought in to help build the rockets and stuff.
Project Paperclip.
There you go. Thank you, Matt. I knew you knew what that was.
Yep.
So the book's kind of told out of order. Well, not that much order, but it's kind of cutting between the mission where the characters Snow and Jaquita are going to this Ford Voyager Plaza, which is a space museum type thing, and they're going there, and it's sort of intercutting as they're getting this briefing about all of this backstory. So it's a bunch of exposition, but it's really interesting stuff. But they basically talk about how these 4 scientists or astronauts were sent into space in 61, 62, and it introduces who they all are. One's just the daughter of a Nazi, another one's this other guy, and they go into a bit of depth, but basically something happened when it went into space, and it seems like from the visual and the art, it looks like they encounter the snowflake, the multiverse snowflake. And when the eventually the capsule comes back down, they found basically just legs of their bodies, and they're just dead. But however, it seems like they did survive in some sense, like they ascended to something else, and they're the villains behind the stuff that happened and some other things that have been going on in the book, like the island stuff and whatnot. So basically all of this is about the fact that Snow was complaining they're not proactive enough, so this is them trying to be proactive and go out after what is effectively the evil version of Planetary, which is this team of people who are exploring, but they don't care about the damage they're causing or whatever else is going on. So all this was really fast, and I love the way they told some of this stuff, where when they talk about this space mission that went awry, it basically goes to these small panels in the middle of a black page, which are old camera footage that of a camera that was supposed to be on the ship. So you get this sort of scratchy, grainy footage of all just the one sort of angle. But you see this snowflake thing, you get a little bit of the comms chatter on the outside of the panels. It's really well told. It really gives you that creepy sort of vibe of we're in space and we're seeing something unknown and we can't explain it. And then they just lose contact, and there's a lot of red implying blood. And they scream. So it almost feels like a demented version of how Fantastic Four get their powers, where, yeah.
That's absolutely what it is, right? Because this happens in 61, 62. That's when the first issue of Fantastic Four comes out.
There you go, yeah.
Right? And the 4 of them are effectively, like Jacob Green, it says, is the pilot, right? It's like Ben Grimm.
That's right.
So-
Yeah, there's one woman. Yeah, there's three guys. Yeah, it's actually. I'm now realizing as you say that there's a lot of parallels to Fantastic Four.
Yeah, so it's like, what if the Fantastic Four were evil, right? And Richards uses his power for, because we still don't know. We only meet one of them here, right?
Yeah,
we meet William Mother, who's effectively their Johnny Storm.
Yeah, but it's the lightning powers rather than flame powers.
Yes, like electrical,
Yeah.
right? So,
They basically catch him at this base. They've like got the intel that says he's here, and Jaquita and Snow try and confront him, and it does not go well. Needless to say, he headbutts the crap out of Jaquita and puts her down. And we get a bit more flashbacks to like Snow reading the files on this team, this Artemis team, and they're talking about Island Zero again. So they're bringing up stuff that all these relatively standalone stories are kind of being like stringed together a little bit here. But Jaquita gets thrown out of the window and down into the plaza, which she'll survive because she's superhuman, but is pretty over the top. And it leaves our Lightning Boy here to like confront Snow, and basically there's some intrigue here where he's like, hey, I know you quite well, Mr. Snow, and you don't remember me, right? He says his name's William Leather, like you said, and it's basically an implication that before like Snow's like memory loss, like that he maybe has a history with either this team or at least one of the characters, because he seems to know a lot about him. He seems to imply some knowledge and like expectations of him. So, and that's kind of the final moment that it ends on, is after he tries to fight him a little bit. And our lightning storm decides to leave, and we get like this insane visual that again looks like the snowflake, and he almost looks like the Star Child from 2001 in the middle of the snowflake, and it's kind of like, hey, we ascended when we encountered that thing, we became something else, and we are explorers who are navigating all this different stuff, and you couldn't even comprehend. And so he leaves. He sort of like goes through the floor as electricity, and it leaves Snow on his own, just left to ponder what his own history is that he doesn't know about. Because one of the last things he says to him is, hey, do you really not remember us? Who benefits from your lack of memory? Who knows the secret history of Elijah Snow? What are your teammates not telling you? So it puts him in a place where he's maybe left to not trust Planetary right now, especially if they're behind him not knowing stuff. But what's interesting about that is that they said to him earlier on that they're telling Snow all this stuff about Artemis because they trust him now. So it does bring up that idea of trust. That by the end of the issue, it's actually Snow who's questioning possibly his trust with the others. So thematically, it's a good through line throughout the issue, and the confrontation is fun. But for me, it's the history lesson and talking about how Russia had their own secret space mission, and they were also going to space before we publicly knew they were. And there was this race to maybe even be on Mars by the end of the 60s or sometime in the 70s, and like, whether or not any of it happens is another thing, but how the public space program was there. That was the cheery, happy one to make everyone feel good about the country. But the real fight in space race was already happening in secret. Yeah. So like that was interesting. But then especially how it handled like showing like the aftermath and like the encounter in space. It just had that eerie kind of unknown but scary vibe to it that I really like.
I feel that's what the guy wanted to do with that terrible Fantastic Four movie, where it was supposed to lead into like body horror and whatnot.
Yeah, Trank.
But Trank. But like Planetary already did it like years before, so like, how are you gonna improve on that? Also, I do love that Snow just ends the lightning storm, as we're calling him, with a good old kick to the nuts. Because he's not above that.
Oh yeah, he'll play dirty if the occasion calls for it, and maybe even if it doesn't call for it, just because he feels like it. It's interesting, and it definitely builds like more of an overall narrative that the book hasn't quite had. Because up until now, it's mostly been these standalone things. The last issue did have a bit, because the last issue was the sort of callback to like an earlier story, and it was more of a personal story for Snow and what he's feeling right now. But before that, it was mostly these standalone stories, and I feel like this is now it all sort of starting to feel like it's coming together, and like there's like a through line here with this team of villains that we can now kind of go after. And even if we get more standalone stories now, we can just kind of assume going into them they're probably tied to this group and something that they've done. Either because they've intentionally caused something, or maybe it's just like a symptom of something they've done. But really good. This made the overall story quite exciting. So excited to see what it does next time. And they are again is solid. It gets its job done quite well. I think all the stuff in space looks really cool. The effort to make it look like old footage, and some of that might just be, not the art per se, but like filters that have been added afterwards. But I do think it's the correct choice for when they use it here. So, this is probably a good 8.5 out of 10. This issue. So, no complaints from me. Which will take us on to the final part of the show, where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel/moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and of course top 5 books. So, moment of the week, Matt, what you got?
So, of course, people expect me to pick one of the Indiana Jones things, but I have many to choose from, right? But I also
Matt, you said that as if you were going to swerve everyone, and then you just said, "Oh, I am," but I've got like 4 choices.
Yeah, but I also want to shout out the, when Absolute Wonder Woman uses the sacrifice lasso, right, and becomes Medusa, and we get that kind of kaiju vibe against the Tetracide. I thought that was pretty cool, right? Just like Unlimited, we had some cool Dan Mora type stuff too. But, all around back around to Indiana Jones. And come on, him wearing the fedora and the whip, standing there with Superboy behind him. Is there any more Matt thing? Only if Starfire was there, maybe. So
Place
that's going to be
Starfire,
yeah. So,
All right.
But yeah, that's mine.
So, Matt officially likes Caleb more than Guy. Book it.
False. How dare you? Talk to me after Superman in July, though. Maybe I'm going to hate Billion.
Carter, moment of the week.
I am going with the big Medusa moment. It's every issue of this book so far has had a moment where I go, "Oh shit, this is cool," and that was the one for this month.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, there's a few moments that I could maybe pick. There's a couple of cool things in Last Halloween that I liked. There's definitely a couple of moments in Black Canary I liked. I'm kind of torn between the moment in Detective when Batman finds out that Damien has overtaken the prison on his own. Because I love that moment. I love the kaiju moment in Wonder Woman with Medusa. But I also love that moment in Green Lantern when the blacksmith explodes and then Hal's just left standing there and just has to feel the weight of not being able to save him. I think that was a really good moment that really enhance what that book's doing overall with its ongoing narrative. I think I'll pick the Wonder Woman one as well, to be fair. I want it to be different for the sake of being different, but I think I have to pick it. So
it's just cool.
It's pretty cool. It's hard to deny that. As for cover of the week, there's a bunch to pick from that I quite like. There's a Bruno Redondo Detective, which is nice and simple, which is quite nice. I like that. There's also another Detective variant by Jean Ferreira, which I also really like, with Batman looking down at a puddle of his own blood, which is just super, super neat. Ferreira is obviously a great artist. I really liked a couple of the Green Lantern covers, the Blanco variant with Kyle on the cover, sitting upside down. But I also really, really like the main cover, which is like a bunch of the Lantern members. And what's cool about this cover is that they've got kind of like a sort of like highly detailed, shaded painting kind of look, but the green energy from Hal's ring, whenever it covers them, it sort of loses its coloring and just becomes like a black and white. Well, I say maybe more green and white is a better description because it's green tinted. But I really like that cover as well.
Solid.
Yeah. And I also like the Last Halloween cover by Sienkiewicz, with the Joker doing the mugshot, just because it's just so demented looking. It's really cool. I think I'm going to go with the main Green Lantern cover as my pick, but those were the ones that stuck out to me. Connor?
Those are all good, but you didn't mention what I'm going to pick, so I don't need to list through all those again.
Go for it.
I'm going with the Homer variant for Absolute Wonder Woman. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I can see how there might be a critique is a little bit anime for some people. With
A little bit.
yeah, but you want to tell me there's no Final Fantasy inspiration in that book as it is? With the giant sword.
There's
the
definitely
giant
Final
monsters,
Fantasy inspiration. It's a Buster
Yeah.
Sword. Yeah, there's
exactly.
no denying it.
So I feel like this is totally appropriate for this book, this cover, to kind of do it in that style. And I think it's just a fantastic cover.
All right, Matt.
Well, Pete named all the ones I was going to name too, except for one, which ended up being my main pick, and it's also from Absolute Wonder Woman, but it's the Mike Perkins variant.
I did notice the
Scott
Perkins cover. I like it, but it didn't make my top 5 cut.
No, I like it because you got the sword sitting there, as you just call it, the Buster Sword, and just the way that she's sitting there, it's kind of completely opposite from what we're used to seeing her doing in the book. So as this kind of poster quality kind of art, I like it, and all the shadows Perkins really works with. You see it coming from her cloak and whatever, and she's holding a helmet, which I don't think we've seen, right? And it looks a little bit like what we're used to seeing with Ares.
It does look a bit Ares-esque with the red.
Yeah. So I like that.
Okay. And then art of the week, Connor.
Oh, it's a toss-up for me between Absolute Wonder Woman and Green Lantern Dark. They're both fantastic. I might edge it to Green Lantern Dark this time. I think even though Wonder Woman's got more moments, I think Green Lantern Dark has a couple of little things with its coloring and like the stylistic shifts at the start that just tip it in its favor.
All right. Matt?
Yeah, so mine's a toss-up between 3 books, right? We got Absolute Wonder Woman. I always loved Sherman, right? Then we got Green Lantern. I'm drawing a blank on that artist.
Jack Herbert. Yeah.
Jack Herbert, which comes up real. And then you always got the wild card that is Dan Mora. But you also have Janin, so actually it's 4, right? So in order to not be a self-parody and just pick Herbert because of reasons, right? I'm going to go with Sherman for Absolute Wonder Woman.
It's a good week for art, though, when Janin and 2 Mora books didn't even enter my consideration.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And it's easy to remember Jack Herbert's name. Just think Sherbert.
Yeah, Sherbert like Herbert.
Yeah. Is Sherbert a thing in the US?
Yeah, but no one gets it when you can get ice cream.
Why is it being compared to ice? That's just such a random different thing. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Is this a flapjack pancake?
Are you thinking of sorbet?
Maybe. What is sherbet? Because we have rainbow
sherbet. Is basically sugar.
It's like powder that you dip like a lollipop in.
Yeah, no. So ours is like a sorbet. It's like you'll get rainbow sherbet that's like orange, so it's not even rainbow. It's just not good. You get where you get ice cream. It's almost like a frozen yogurt.
We've discovered today that Americans use the word sherbet for something that's not sherbet. Okay.
It's sorbet,
yes.
Yeah. This is from what I can tell. Unless Matt's just mixing it up.
I'm gonna double check.
Possible.
Sherbet, yeah. You get like a lolly. You get a little packet. It's just a packet of powdered sugar, basically. That's flavored.
So it's like
a little bit sour.
Yeah. It's got a flavor. Yeah.
You need to stick.
Yeah, so when you watch Austin Powers, Matt, and he's going orange sherbet, he's not talking about whatever you're thinking of. He's talking about British sherbet.
Yeah.
So we have a rainbow sherbet, which is spelled like you're saying it, right? SHERBET.
Yep.
Yeah. We have it. And it's like ice cream, and again, why get that when you can get real ice cream?
Yeah, but what we're talking about has nothing to do with ice cream, which is why it felt like a weird comparison to me.
We're talking about powdered sugar.
Yes, I'm gonna look up.
Give it a little stick. You can get just a stick of sherbet as well, like a little plastic tube. You snip the top off and just down it. It's just like a sugar hit,
like a pixie stick.
Yeah.
So we had a world market just open up recently, and I've been going and getting candies that I normally can't get. I'm gonna look for this now.
Oh, get yourself a Kinder Bueno, Matt.
Yes.
I'll get that. Top tier.
Yes, I've gotten a honeycomb Kit Kat, which it's gonna be hard to go back to regular
Kit Kats. So it's just a crunchy, right?
Yeah. But it's Kit Kat branded. I think it's from Australia, so it's not quite the same for yours, but it's in the same
though, right?
area.
So it should be the same chocolate, as far as I'm concerned.
No, because I don't know about the same chocolate, but I have heard that American Kit Kats aren't as good as UK Kit Kats because they have a different like the wafer doesn't break the same way. It's got a different feeling to it.
Yeah, this is a Kit Kat with that honeycomb candy.
Is it a thin Kit Kat like you get like the 4 sticks, or is it the chunky one?
It's not the big chunky one. It's not like we call those the big cat in here. They're smaller, so it's almost like have you seen the Japanese Kit Kats? They're like half the size of a regular.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah, that's what these are like. God, it's so good.
That said, though, if you can get a peanut butter Kit Kat chunky, those are pretty good too.
I'll look. I will look. But yeah, we spent me and Ash spent a good 20-30 minutes going through all the candy. You know, they also have Iron Brew, but it's warm, so I haven't bought it yet.
Oh, get it, bring it home, so you can put it in the fridge.
Yeah. But you know, I didn't get it this time.
Also, everywhere sells it warm over here. Like you buy it in the supermarket warm, and then just stick it in the fridge.
But you know, when we were leaving, I was looking because there was a cold cabinet, right?
Oh yeah.
There.
But I mean, to be fair though, most places will have it in the cold bit as well.
They will,
yeah. Because had it been cold, I would have gotten it right then and there. Because I've only got it the one time.
Also, I love how Matt pronounced that. He really emphasized the full word "iron brew," whereas Iron Brew.
Just Iron Brew. Yeah.
Iron Brew.
Yeah, I say all of our letters.
Yeah, but it's not there.
Aldi now have a knockoff, and they actually call it Iron Brew, like the full word.
Can we settle something real quick? What is the flavor?
Oh, that's that taste of Iron Brew.
Okay. That's like Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew tastes like Mountain Dew.
Yeah, it's like asking what does cola taste like. You'd say, well, it tastes like cola. There's no other equivalent.
But what are the ingredients in Iron Brew? Because it looks like rust.
It's
no
secret.
one knows.
Yeah, it's top secret.
Yeah, okay.
The brothers who run the company like both know it and like they'll take it to their graves unless they
also if they have the Iron Brew over there. Check which one it is. You want the Iron Brew 1901, ideally, which is the original recipe one.
Okay, I will check when we go. Yes, because like cola is different than Coca-Cola, right? That's what makes Coca-Cola taste its own. As I found out by
Coca-Cola is a variation on cola.
On the cola, right? Which I found out by getting the Liquid Death Cola, which tasted like this third brand that didn't quite make it with Coke and Pepsi called Moxie, and it tastes very medicinal. And I did not like it, and I was stuck drinking the rest of the 8 over the course of last week.
That's why I said cola and not Coke, because if I said Coke, you'd say, well, Pepsi's like, you'd say it tastes like Pepsi, because there's another cola.
That's what I'm saying.
Cola is the defining flavor.
Yeah.
Right. Which I'm trying to figure out what is the defining flavor of Iron Brew, and we can't describe it.
At least with cola, like you could define, because cola is like, it's a combination of bitters, right? Mm-hmm. And then sure you add in the sugar.
And the cola nut, right? Which is its own thing.
It's all these bitters and things, but then you add in the sugar after, obviously, or sweetener. But Iron Brew, it's just Iron Brew.
Yeah, Iron Brew is just Iron Brew.
All because we brought up Sherbert.
Yes, Sherbert.
We still need to rank the books.
We do, yeah. I still have to get my artist of the week.
Have you not done that yet?
No, because it was Matt's Herbert talk that led to Sherbert.
That's true. Yeah, we got a bit off topic.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost want to go Last Halloween in this because it was just such a different style that stuck out to me. So I think I'm going to pick that. Yeah, I'm going to go with Last Halloween for art. But I mean, even Sook was great on Black Canary, which is worth mentioning. Yeah, a lot of good art. All right, ranking the books, top 5. Matt, go.
All right, here we go. And of course, I clicked to next week's books while we were doing the Sherbert talk. So now I have to pull them back up because I'm an idiot. All right, number 1 is Absolute Wonder Woman. 2 is going to be Green Lantern. 3 is going to be Tech. 4 is Black Canary. And 5 is Green Lantern Dark.
All right, Connor?
Absolute Wonder Woman. Green Lantern Dark. Green Lantern. Where am I after that? Probably Tech. And then probably Last Halloween last.
All right. So for me, it is probably Absolute Wonder Woman is number 1. Number 2, Green Lantern. Number 3, Tech. Number 4, Green Lantern Dark. 5, Last Halloween. Yeah, I feel good about that. All right, so I'll tell you now what's coming next week from DC Comics, and I think Connor might even be here again next week for this batch.
I will, yeah.
That feels like a threat.
But barring any unforeseen circumstances.
2 in a row. Whoa, what is this? So yeah, coming out next week is Poison Ivy 31, Batgirl issue 5, Birds of Prey 19, JSA issue 5, Shazam 21, which is the final issue, by the way, of Shazam.
Which we didn't talk about. I meant to text you last week because I'd seen some news come up about that it wasn't in the solicits.
Yeah, well, I've been this list for a couple of months, and we just it never clicked.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's the final issue. It's a shame, but hey, at least it gets the final issue. Batman Full Moon issue 4, so the Bat Werewolf book is ending next week. Two-Face issue 4, Nice House by the Sea issue 6, Justice League The Atom Project issue 3, Secret 6 issue 1, your Batman Win Family Adventures 154, Teen Titans Go issue 1, and then some facsimiles and reprints to round things out. So, yeah. So we'll see how next week shapes up.
Connor, are you planning on reading Secret 6?
Maybe.
Okay.
It depends how busy I am, because I've got to read like the previous month's worth of all the issues.
Yeah. Because I know that Pete has no interest in it, but it's Secret 6, and I have
I am like vaguely interested in it. I'm vaguely interested to see what Nicole Mines can do outside of just doing Dreamer stuff. I know Dreamer's in the book.
Dreamer's still on the team, admittedly.
Yeah, but I want to see what she can do with other things as well.
It is interesting, though, because this is like, just herself on a book. Like, it's going to have multiple issues. That does seem like a new like frontier.
As opposed to just doing, here's the Dreamer backup. Or
here's
special.
Here's an anthology.
But yeah, exactly. So, I'm interested in that. I want to read it, but whether or not I get around to it, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I'll make the attempt, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm Batgirl and Birds of Prey are next to each other in League of Comic Book Geeks, and it's like two great covers featuring Cass. It's just really nice.
Yeah,
it's a Cass week next week, and
I hope JSA is getting better.
I hope so too. I mean, it's not been bad. It's just not been,
been great.
With the caveat, I've not read issue 4 yet, but before that, very mediocre.
Me and Pete both agreed with you, and we're up to date. So let you know.
It's just Jeph Lemire and JSA sounds like a dream come true, and
I expected more, and it's been fine.
Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully, arc number 2 can steer the ship in the right direction.
Those first 3, though, I'm very excited for. We got
Ivy, Batgirl, Birds of Prey. Yeah, that's a good few books.
And Matt is.
I think we lost Matt.
Yeah, Matt's just completely frozen. He's
too excited by the thought of those books.
Yes, he's too excited about all the variants of Ivy that he's going to be jerking off to. Oh, Matt's back.
I'm back, and I heard that, sir, and I resemble those remarks.
All right, that's the show, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let us know what you thought of the books in the comments. Like, subscribe. You can support all the content in the podcast over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. If you haven't checked out the YouTube channels that we do, MailFuzz TV and MailFuzz Movies, where various reviews and podcasts live, you can go check out those too and have a look-see. But that is the show, everyone. So thank you for joining us. We do appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Keep reading DC Comics. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.